we go. Okay, the go live button is ready. I'm going to press go live. I've pressed go live. And I'm going to give it 3, 2, 1, and then I'll do the introduction. Hi, you're with Scott. I'm Superchuffer. It's midnight. It's always midnight. This is right here and your left ear. I'm with Steve of the Dead. You can hear me. You can hear him, I'm guessing.
I've not said anything yet, so if you could hear me, I'd be worried.
Big ups to you in chat. We've got Saz, Lottie, Keely, Deborah, Dover and Dolly's mom, Slinky Socks. There's a few of you here in chat. We're going to do a nice... We've both been feeling a bit under the weather recently, me and Steve, so thus was off on Monday. And we're going to do a nice, gentle midweek chat about cults. So make sure you leave your keys at the door, pay your entrance fee. You will need to put your credit card and your bank details into the book at the front, and all bow down to Supreme Leader, Steve of the Dead. How are you feeling, Steve?
Oh, no, I shouldn't have been in charge of a cult, no. I do recommend wearing masks, and, at least one of you should be offered up as sacrifice. Yeah, I'm crap. I've not been great. Things have gotten worse with my back, so I've had to be on a lot of painkillers, and I'm probably going to be moving around a lot because it's not very easy for me to get comfortable, but I felt really bad that we didn't do one on Monday, and I was really looking forward to it. And we didn't do one the previous Monday either because I was in A&E all night.
Chill. So, I've not been on this mainstream Superchuffer stream for a week or two now. It's been a bit of a lullis, but don't worry. We can always do a pushes when we want to do a pushes. And I hope you're all good in chat. I hope you're all having a good time. Keys in a bowl. Not that sort of keys, Deborah. No, not keys in a bowl. Deborah, keys at the front.
You did say
because
it.
I meant well.
Why
yeah.
I said masks.
Yeah, when I meant about cults, I meant we take all your belongings and they belong to the group now. So that was the general. I suppose actually that is still part of the. We'll get on to that. We're going to talk about cults.
If you want, I don't mind.
We're going to talk about cults today because the other week I'm just going to big shouts out to Steve of the Dead. Make sure you subscribe to Steve of the Dead. Just noticed my green screen's not perfect. I've been messing about with it today. Tell you about that another time. Coffee.com is how you can do the tippies if you want to drop in the tippies. So I'll paste that in chat, and I will do periodically through the episode. And also Superchuffer. This is the channel you're watching. So subscribe to that, of course. Last week we did denial, and so we learned all about denial, and we said at some point that cults felt like an extension of denial, didn't they? So that's probably where I'll start from asking you about is how do we get into talking about cults, and how do they connect with what we were learning about with denial? And yeah, we'll just get straight into it if you want.
Yeah. I mean, well, it came about during the denial because we were talking about how people in cults can be in denial and how difficult it can be to break that sort of denial because it's so big and significant because they've invested so much of their identity into it. So, it felt like a natural advancement to talk about cults, much in the same way, we did the narcissist and we did the serial killer thing, and then we were like, oh, there's not that many female serial killers. So we span up into talking about female serial killers for a bit. God, when I tell my parents about the content that we talk about, it's like they're worryingly proud of me.
Well, we're trying to do what is it? We do how people think, feel, and behave, and we're trying to get in a groove, aren't we? And get things. It's a bit like being in a band, isn't it? Like you practice. I'm louder than Steve. Thank you. Good point. Thanks. Good point. Well made. I'll turn myself down a little bit, and I'll turn Steve up a little bit, and then he'll be louder than me, and then. We'll keep bouncing that around until one of us is the right loudness. Yeah, it's a bit like doing a podcast, a bit like being in a band, get into a flow, get into a groove, start making your music and finding your sound. Yeah.
I was talking about some problem that we had to ALT, and he said you need to get a Sam, and I went, Scott is my Sam.
Yeah, I'm the engineer. Except the problem I've got is that I can hear Steve just fine in my headphones, but I can't monitor two things at once. And I really do rely on you in chat to say this is sounding better now, or it's not. So is it sounding better now? Do you want to...
Apologies, I have turned it up and I am moving away a bit. I'm wobbling somewhat. So yeah, I have real problems with my legs.
I've got a lisp. I can't. There's no button on my sound desk for lisp. I haven't turned up the lisp knob. So
I think you need therapy for that, don't you?
Speech therapy, yeah. Perhaps I've developed it through putting the microphone too close to my mouth. So you're
You
happy
could have
with
been
the sound?
conditioned, like cult members often are, into speaking a certain way. So that's a segue right there.
Yeah, okay. We'll get back into talking about Scott Colts. Look, you're not. Look, Dover and Dolly's mum. It's all well and good talking about you, Lucasade, but you need to tell me now if the sound is good. Sounds good now. Apparently, sounds good. A bit better. I want it really evenly balanced. I want Steve to be the same as me to be the same as Steve. So, like, let me know. I can see that.
Also,
I'm really
I don't
loud,
have a
actually.
yeast infection. How dare you? I've not been out that much.
Hey, 1 2 check 2. Do you know what's happened? 1 2 check 2.
What?
1 2 check 2 is that my entire. I told you my entire setup. We've had a meter set put in behind me. A meter put in, and this got moved, and so I'm assuming someone's turned my microphone up to full volume. So I'm just like, now I should sound a bit. What it was that my microphone was turned up to absolutely whacking full volume, is my guess, and this should be getting better now as I turn it down. Everyone, 1 2 check 2.
Wait, is that true? Adam puts his microphone behind him. Is that true?
Alan does. Alan's microphone's off behind and to the side. He's not supposed to be talked about here. He's not to tough it down one.
This is like
this
is like finding out that DSP didn't know how sound worked.
It's the same, yeah. When he was in the cupboard and he couldn't, yeah.
Yeah, when he was like, "Hey, the further away from the mic I am, the quieter I am," and it's like you're 40 years old and just learning that. Does he really have a microphone behind him?
Okay, we sound better now, yeah. We do sound better now.
Struggling with that. Sorry.
We do sound better.
So bad.
100% what it was that my microphone had been turned up to absolutely full whack on the desk somehow. So,
I just
took
whack
it
mine
for
up to
granted.
full volume and assume that you're going to balance it. So
yeah. Well, they're balancing it in chat. Now Steve's a little loud. That's because I kept turning him up. He's at 150% now. Great, disaster stream. We're going to have to stop it and start it again. I'm going to go over to... So yeah, listen, we're supposed to be talking about cults, right? We've got
Cults,
this is
cults,
good. This is
yeah.
good. This is good. We've got
do
a
I
nice
define a
balance now.
cult? Do I define a cult? Because often people will ask what's the difference between a cult and a religion.
Well, I've got two questions. I've got 2 questions before we define it then. And maybe the definition will come about. One is that you probably haven't researched, is that curveball.
Yeah, you've not seen my notes. You don't know what.
Curveball straight at the start though. Like, what's the oldest cult? Where did cults start from? Are we prone to them as is it like a group phenomenon, or is it something separate that comes about as societal? Do you think?
Again, that depends on how you define it, because usually when you will find ancient settlements, you'll find like evidence of some sort of symbolic activity, and it's really difficult to determine whether how religious it is, or whether it's like some more mundane use that they had then. So you have to go really far back. I would assume cults existed as long as humans do, really, as long as we've been able to gather around one person. So probably around agricultural development time. You'd have to go really far back. And again, it's like what's considered a cult in one area might be considered a religion in another area. So, it's really difficult. When the Romans came over here, their beliefs were cult because they were a smaller group in opposition to the more dominant thinking of all these disparate banded tribes. And, gradually they became the dominant religion here. And then, because, obviously, Catholicism and other forms of Christianity start to spread, and they become dominant religions over time. But they start off as loosely developed, loosely sort of like organized groups of belief that is against the more dominant thinking of the time. So
I'm hearing religion.
What is a cult? What is a religion? Is really, it's a grey area.
Let's define that then. Since it's come up, my guess is religions socially approved, get the rubber steel stamp of approval, and cults are like, oh, bad notice. But like there must be more than just like, because it feels like there might, like, just to the scratch of the surface, there might be a lot of culty, comparisons. Let's define the cult, and then let's define what the difference is. Go on then.
Okay. Firstly, Prophecy UK, is the word cult overused? In my opinion, it is, and there is now more of a sort of lean towards not using the word, it has very negative social connotations, and that can sometimes harm the recovery chances of the people coming out of cults. So, academically, you would call it a new religious movement, but usually the difference between a cult and religion is time. Most of the religions, that we've had over our 200,000 years of existence have started as cults against the more dominant belief system. So again, think of like Christianity starting when the Roman belief system was the more dominant.
Everyone was into Zeus, and then here comes this Jesus cult with their fucking hippie love and love thy neighbor and hippie dippy. Exactly. Like, fuck, put him up on the cross, mate, crucifying these nasty cultists. And then later on, things have changed. It's the Romans with their strange beliefs, isn't it? Well,
it's a great book about this called Zealot by Reza Aslan, which I really well done. Give you that one. Set up that one, but yeah, in all seriousness, it's called Zealot by Reza Aslan, and it's really good read. I really enjoyed that, so highly recommended.
I'm going to recommend the Bible as well.
It's raining again.
Big ups, Keely. Thank you. Join the cult.
Keely sent tippies. Looking forward to an interesting stream. Good to see you back.
Thank you.
Our leaders.
Are we a cult?
Superchuffer owes 10
We'll ask
hugs.
that in a bit. Thank you very much. So yeah, define a cult for me then. Give me the strict definitions. And Keely's now a member of our cult.
Of our Tippy's cult, right?
The Tippy's cult.
Yeah.
Go on.
Okay.
Define, give me some outlines.
Yeah, we need outlines. We have, thanks to Weber, the functionalist, who I'm sure you, as somebody who studies sociology, has probably heard the name. Max
Heard the
Weber.
name, forgot it, was able to talk about the things he said, but not remember when he said them and failed the exam. That Weber.
Him and somebody called Troeltsch distinguish between churches and sects. And sects, not sex. Sect.
S-C-E-T.
S-E-C-T-S. Yeah. There we go. Sex. Everybody.
Big ups, Andy. Thank you for the super chat. I love Andy. When I think of her, my willy goes hard, says the super chat.
Yes,
I'm obliged to read it, so make sure you've clipped that. Thank you.
Thank you for those tweets this morning. So churches are the institutionalized religious body. They are the dominant thinking at the time. They are the culture of the society that is present. And sects are smaller and less organized groups of believers. They usually exist in opposition to the main religious beliefs. Howard Becker then further distinguishes between denominations and cults. Denominations are sects which have essentially cooled down and become sort of like institutionalized churches of their own. Think of like the many denominations of Christianity. You got Catholicism, Protestantism. You've got like
Anglican.
I don't know, Scott. I'm British and I'm an atheist. Those are like the two that are coming to mind immediately. But it's
Baptists, Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
There's quite a lot of different flavors of Christianity, aren't there? Like it's like M&Ms, except they're all the same flavor. Well, that's like Christianity in a way. So yeah,
but they've all started off as little loose groups opposed to the main thought at the time. The Church of England started off because Henry VIII didn't agree with the Pope's view on divorce, so it started in opposition. So it's not uncommon for that thing to happen, but cults are like sects, but they're less like institutionalized. They're loosely grouped and they're frequently transient. They don't tend to last very long. Sects that become denominations last. They have a group of core beliefs that maintain themselves, and they have adherents, and they have rituals that are normally somewhat inspired by Catholicism. So you've already got your belief structure there. You've already got like your guide to worshipping there. So it tend to be more stable, whereas sects can usually depend on the influence of one person, and they tend to be more transient. So they don't last that long, and they break apart as followers become disenchanted, and they fail to stick around much longer than usually the death or arrest of the leading figure.
Let me get this straight, right? So you've got a big religion, you've got like the main thing, like Catholicism or like Christianity as like a big arching concept, and then you've got your main religion within that group, like Catholicism, Christianity, Catholicism, yeah. And then what happens is you've got lots of other people who say, well, I like what you're doing here with the Catholicism, but I want to change it slightly and do it slightly differently. So we're going to like do it, we'll get onto the Scientology bit in just a minute. So we're going to do it slightly differently, and we're going to have like the Anglican Church. So it's not the Catholic Church. We're going to do, but we're still Christian, and we're doing it slightly differently. Now we're a sect, right? Until like for a long time, we've become an established sect ourselves, yeah.
Over time, yeah, you
Over
become
time,
an established denomination. You're now
a proper church,
of
and
that
you get to be like
yeah.
official, yeah. But if you're a sect and it gets a bit fragmented and like, you know, breaks down and you're not really sure about what's going on, you can become like a fringe group, which would be more of a cult, yeah.
Yeah, because then you're sort of like less loosely defined in terms of structure and ritual, which
and
are important
transience.
to religions. Yeah.
Okay, and so you're not doing all the so you're not doing all the rules, essentially. You're doing it your way, and like, you know,
Yeah.
I've got these pictures of the hippies, like they've got their hands in the air, doing it my way. So like
New
that can
Age
be,
philosophies might be considered cult. Things like, think about, you know, your 1960s sort of shamans and gurus that took hold as part of the hippie.
like I'm spiritual,
era.
but I'm not
Those are
following the
called
rules.
Cults. Yeah. And again, they were formed in opposition to the zeitgeist of the time, which is, you know, the Vietnam War and you know, Americanism and America being great and all that stuff. And so they're on opposition to a more conservative social and cultural.
I've got another question,
set of
though, right?
standards.
Can it come the other way? Can it go the other way up? So like somebody says, I'm going to start a group and I want you all to follow me and I'm going to be the main one. Like, instead of coming down from the big religion and this is Christianity and we're going to do it our way, we're not doing Christianity at all. I'm doing my own one, like a bit like Scientology, and come from the bottom up. Like,
yeah. Again, the difference is only time. So as long as you have like established sort of structure that helps give people some idea of like how they can dress, what they can eat, when they should be celebrating, when they should be worshipping, all that stuff. If you can like establish that long enough to last, then at some point you will become a denomination. You'll become a church of your own. You'll become an established religion. Think of like how Mormonism now compared to Mormonism 200 years ago. When
and Scientology now compared to
Scientology now is still like, it's still cult, but you know, it continues to persist. At some point in the future, it may be considered legitimate church.
And legally though, like they call themselves the Church of Scientology, and they have like some sort of taxable status based on being a religious organization, don't they? Like legally and socially, definition is slightly maybe different, I suppose, or maybe they have to overlap.
I think it's because of how America views churches and religious beliefs, right, compared to how, you know, sociologists and psychologists and social psychologists in particular would view these sort of things. Like the definitions are going to be different, and especially considering how legal precedent are involved. The IRS, I believe, has a very hands-off approach towards churches, so it allows a lot to get away with in the name of religion. So
it's just interesting.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's just interesting for me though. Like,
they are considered by them a religion, but socially and culturally, most people consider them a cult.
Yeah, because like the thing is, right, like we can all make our own definitions and like, you know, semantics, but at some point the law has to define something, and so we make the law though because of our society, don't we? Like socially we come together and decide what should be in the law and where the lines are drawn, and then at some point the judge defines that, I suppose, and we elect those people to put in the judges, and you know, it's all a system. So in theory what the law says should align with what we actually believe, because otherwise there's something wrong, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like,
but then that's why you change laws, that's why you update laws, and we do that through engagement of the system. Ostensibly counter number one. All being well, we would engage with that system by voting for people who represented our interests and would like align with our beliefs on this issue, and we'll go, yeah, okay, we'll do something about like how we define church, and we'll do something about investigating the sort of like behavior of this group, and you know, we'll investigate how we classify groups like this. So, you know, all being well in a system that worked, that would be what happened. But culturally is different, because cultural values shift much more rapidly. They're not as affixed. You know, things can change, opinions can change. Think about how people thought about, like say soldiers coming home from World War I with shell shock and how they were viewed as weak, and they were shamed because they couldn't stand up to, the conditions. They couldn't go out and fight, and now we recognize that as PTSD and we treat it appropriately. So, values and cultural beliefs could change much more quickly than legal ones. So
And
it's a difficult thing.
So we've got this definition of cults, which is they're not quite a religion. They're more there's reasons why they're not quite a religion. It's because they're more divided as like instead of being part of the one big concept, they've got some of their own ideas, like they're a way and they're a sect. And then not only that, they're more transient. In their does transient just like mean literally physically, they move around a lot, or is it transient in their beliefs and their attitudes?
In terms of how long they exist, they tend to not last very long. Think about how many, the Beatles and that guru that they followed sort of inspired this wave of like Indian mysticism, and think about like how long that lasted.
Mm-hmm.
How many
a lot of them don't last very long because
compared to
they kill everyone.
Whack my microphone stand.
Yeah, a lot of them don't last very long because they kill everyone in the cult, don't they? From what I can understand, some of the ones
some of them, let's to be fair, not all of them end up this way. Most do just sort of like fade into insignificance because eventually too many members leave and that's it.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Manson as well. Someone mentioned it in chat. Like I'll put him on the notes.
Oh God. I actually try to avoid it.
All right, well, we won't talk. Well, we'll talk.
But no,
we
can talk about it. I know.
But yeah,
stuff.
so I'm getting the picture of a group of people who follow. Like, it has to be some sort of spiritual guidance, or there has to be some spiritual aspect about it, or can you be in like the cult of cars, or like,
It depends. There are, Bruce Campbell, not the one from the movies, but. He's a sociologist. I think he believes he writes. I believe he writes a lot about religion, but he's written a lot about cults. And he defined 3 different types of cult. You have the Illumination cult, which are sort of like your lead figure has some divine knowledge, and he can give that to you, or he is the vessel for divine knowledge. Like he's the one who communicates with the aliens or the spirits or whatever. And so.
They are because it could be a woman these days.
Yeah, it could be a woman. It's a central figure.
The central figure of the cult, us, essentially, have divine knowledge. We've seen and heard, and you at home need to listen up because we've seen and heard, and you're going to get the good stuff from us. Join the cult, yeah. So that's illumination, and I get that. That makes sense because like you're shining your light, and you've had this prophecy from God. So illumination cult.
You're revealing information, and you could share that information with your followers. If they do what you say, and they behave a certain way, then we can share more.
Hang on, wait. This also sounds like YouTubers who just like. And honestly, I haven't prepared this with you, but like this also sounds like YouTubers who just say like, "I've got secret information, insider information. Just tune into my true crime channel where I'll tell you the real goss." Or even, and not to throw shade on it necessarily, but like, to throw shade on it, the ones with the spirit boxes who are like, I've got the spirit box, and the spirit box is going to be talking from beyond the spirit grave and tell us about, what's going on. So that sort of stuff, that feels a bit culty then in a way, doesn't it? Like, having one figure that can have access to this secret knowledge brings you in for that reason into the members only club. Yeah, interesting. Because that's illumination. Yeah, got it in my head.
I would like to point out there is actually, when you do get really deep into it, there is actually a lot of overlap with narcissistic behavior, and a lot of times you will see a lot of social and relationship dynamics and social psychology and things like that you would see in other contexts. So you might see a cult behave one way towards a member that you might see a group of friends behave towards another, and but it's completely without malice amongst your group of friends, and it's understood as a joke. But they use a lot of the same social psychology, so you will see these sort of things that identify like cults as warning signs in other contexts where it's completely okay. Just like when we talked about narcissism, when we have to say it's okay to have a bit of narcissism.
Okay,
it's
got what
okay
you're
to,
saying.
you know, bit of
So
ego and all that. So
what you're saying is there will be overlap in other groups because they are a kind of group, and like
yeah,
there
it's
are
a
some
social
things
group. Yeah, so
that are healthy
you will
within
see.
groups. So just because other social things happen on YouTube channels doesn't mean that I should say that they're a cult every time I hear you saying this is what a cult does. I can't say because that other chuffer's got a YouTube channel where they're doing this, they're a cult, and it's like I'm not allowed to do that. I got it. Yeah, there are going to be some positive overlaps that are just happen to be overlaps. But also when you're saying about narcissism, like surely this is the lead end, like the end goal. Like if you're a narcissist and you have your own way and everyone gives in to you and everyone agrees with you, I suppose it ends up looking like a cult then, like because you're the main one in the middle and everyone loves you and they're all like bandied around you, like.
It can do, yeah. Again, the same sort of social dynamics are at play there as are at play in cults. So I cannot stop you from recognizing those sort of behaviors in definitions of cults that we might talk about as we go on. So if you do recognize them and want to draw a parallel to this other YouTuber, then you feel free to do that.
No, you can do it about Dark Side Phil if you want as well. Meaning of cult in English,
You can.
a religious
Yeah,
group
you can.
often living together whose beliefs are considered extreme or strange by many people. So their beliefs are considered strange, and it says religious, often living together in the dictionary definition there. But we're going to, like, obviously, we're going to talk around
Yeah, I've got that.
the whole. We're going to talk around the dictionary definition as well, aren't we? Into other places. Someone in chat just asked like for a strict definition there as well. It was lovely, jubbly. So yeah, there you go. So yeah, I'm understanding now as well. Like we've got illumination, someone in the middle, like a narcissist. Everyone must listen to them, and everyone sort of follows their teachings. That's what Jesus was like. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. I'll just say because we're now able to say these things are like other things, and it's not necessarily bad. So, but there you go. That's what
it's
Jesus
a group
was like.
dynamic. Yeah, it's how some groups form. They form around a central figure. Some social groups form around a central figure. Think about, you might be a member of a fan club of a favorite band, or oh God, do we have fan clubs anymore? Do you get mailing lists? Because I was like in the Dennis the Menace fan club, and I had like the card
Twitter.
and everything.
Yeah,
So
I had a Dennis the Menace badge. Yeah, I don't think. I mean, these days kids will probably still have like. But if you're into the bands, I suppose these days, like you probably just talk to them directly on,
like Twitter or Instagram, or
and then
TikTok or something. Yeah.
end up in hotel rooms. Anyway, but yeah. So with the cult, we've got illumination as the one. As you said, there were three. So I'm interested to find out what the other two are.
The other two. One of the other two is the instrumental types, and these are your inner experience focused, that sort of like put the emphasis on whatever revelation on the individual in the group. So it might be stuff like giving up all your worldly possessions, and moving into the compound and living a sort of like this sort of lifestyle, and you will receive like divine revelation that way. So like tend to be the ones where if there is a central figure, sex is normally the way to get divine revelation. So
you said this one was experience focused.
Inner experience. So you might you might be forced to meditate a lot on something. You might be put into isolation and told it's for your own good.
Big up Scandalf gives. Do you think cult leaders have mental health issues? We'll probably ask that in a minute. So the experience based, it's not inner experience. So it's not about there's this amazing leader who's teaching me something. It's that I'm going to go through something internally for me, and like this cult is the place that I need to be to achieve it and do it.
Well, there frequently is. There frequently is a central figure again. It's just a different form of how the group dynamic operates this time. Rather than going, I am the one who has divine revelation, it's if you behave like this, revelation will come. So it might involve giving me all your money. It might involve sleeping with me. It might involve working at my compound.
Pay me to suck me off.
Subscribing to me and paying me to play Street Fighter 6. If you like the stream and you want to support the stream,
join the Patreon. Pay me to watch the videos that you submit.
we need to make our own cult.
So this But the inner experience, like when I said you could be in the cult of the car, check this out. You could be in the cult of the racing driver that like loves the feel of like, okay, this might be different. The cult of the motorbike, and like you could be in a like you love the feel of the bike on the road and the freedom it gives you, and the mindfulness of being in the moment when you're riding the bike, and it becomes almost spiritual to you. And these people teach you how to like get in the zone. Or I'm thinking of surfers as well, who like it's all about the surf. And like nothing else, and like it's hard to explain what this thing is that like, are you riding the board? Yeah, but while you're riding the board and you're right on the precipice of Mother Nature and the energy and the force, and you have to clear your mind and just do it. These people as part of a group could maybe achieve cult status, and the cult is an inner experience cult because it's all about them and their thing that they're doing, less about like if you're going to praise and love something in this cult, it's going to be the thing, like the experience that gives you the thing.
I feel like that would more be a subculture rather than a cult. Okay.
Fine.
That's just my opinion of it. I only did a bit of sociology, so feel free to.
What would you need? Okay, what would you need to push like surfing or riding a motorbike into cult state? Because I'm also thinking with motorbike gangs, like you've got your jackets, you're part of a crew, like you're part of a transient group, maybe like. Transient still,
but that would be a gang, wouldn't it? That would be
but like, so we're talking about definitions of cults, like there's a religious aspect that has to come into it then, or like some sort of divine aspect.
Typically, yeah.
Like you can't just be in a gang, like you have to, like if it was the god of motorbike and you believe that like the soul of the bike inhabited you when you rode it, then you can be a cult.
Yeah, that would shift more towards cult status, because a wider belief system has taken place taken hold. So the group has something more to focus on rather than just, hey, it's cool to ride a bike and we all wear the same shirts and we all listen to the same music and we all feel the same as we're riding. There becomes like a sort of like a place of ritual, a method of ritual, something to ritualize and something to have focus for spiritual fulfillment from.
Because the other way of doing it is they broke down the bonds and the rules and the rituals, didn't they, to become like a sect and then a cult. So in another way, like from the ground up, it's weird the way it meets in the middle somewhere, isn't it? From the ground up, you have to establish some forms of ritual or some forms of something. Otherwise, you're just like wandering around like a group of nobody's like doing whatever. I suppose that could also be a cult, maybe. The cult of people just doing whatever they want, just wandering around in a field. The anarchists,
just anarchists.
Yeah, could that be a cult, or does it have to require? It requires
that's an economic structure. Anarchy. So, I did see in chat again. Lovely Jubbly asked, "Is it Amish a cult?" No, Amish are now a denomination. Amish beliefs and culture and ritual have settled. They have been established long enough that there are multiple communities of them. They are spread around the place. People know of them and understand their religious beliefs. They are a denomination now. They've basically cooled down from being opposed to. I mean, they are still opposed to like institutionalized Christianity, but they're they've been around long enough
to become a proper religion.
It's usually time is the key. So
to become a proper religion and denomination, there has to be enough of you over a period of time that do the same business, and like it gets settled and it's sorted, and it becomes like a generational and social solid, so to speak. Like, that's really weird, isn't it? Like, because like there's no actual like physical line, is there? Like over a period of time.
There's not. No. Yeah. I think again it would widely vary depending on the culture at the time and whether they want to keep considering them a cult or whether they want to believe that they've been around long enough, their denomination now.
Big ups, Gandalf. I'm not suggesting that bikers are a cult. Like, I'm using.
Yeah, if you get us stabbed or something, mate.
listen. I'm using them as an example of like something that we like, because we see these groups in society, but I'm like saying like how far would we have to push the line from bikers to become a cult? Like where does the line draw? And so I'm definitely agree with you there. Bikers are not a cult. Yeah, they're like a group like Steve just defined for me. But like I'm trying to find another social group, like with surfers maybe won't make anyone cross, like where they're all up to doing the same stuff. They're hanging out as a big group together. They all believe the same sort of like I almost felt like the inner experience thing, like some okay, let's take music maybe as a different example. Like going to raves and stuff. Like people feel like they have a sort of transcendental like experience with the music and
Yeah.
lose themselves in it. And like, you know, at what point does, like, because the part of being a cult is that it's not really strict religion, like it's all fragmented. So at what point do you start to say there's enough spirituality in this that we could call it a cult? Do you know what I mean? That's my next question then. Yeah, like could we be the cult of disco biscuits and raves, or like,
Do you know, right? Okay, so one of my favorite things about YouTube is because I like a bit of like early 90s EDM and rave and dance and all that, because you know it's what was popular at the time when I was growing up. So you know, occasionally I go and listen to them on YouTube, and the comments are always just filled with like the nicest people. They're always like, you know, oh, this, like, you know, 92 at Leeds, took a couple of E's and was off my face, had the most spiritual experience ever. I miss those days and all that. Rather than like, you know, arguing and bickering and insults like you normally see in YouTube comments, they're just nice. They're just really nice to each other. Just a bunch of old people going, yeah, it was really great, wasn't it, back then? They're just really chilled out. So yeah, if you look for like really underground rave stuff, like it's like early Prodigy stuff, you know, or something like that.
there's these videos,
really nice
right? There's these
Did you
videos.
see the car park one? The car park one is especially famous.
I could show you the Prodigy. So, this is not famous, right? These have only had like 500,000 views, but they're a flashback at the Q Club, and like, you know, like, I won't have the sound on because of the, you know, whatever. But I was there. I was in there. Like, someone videoed all of the different flashback events, and like maybe this exact one on the 14th of the 12th, 99, maybe not that one, or maybe that one. I'll get the flyers out and I'll find, you know, you can find the actual.
I believe that you were there, yeah, but
you won't pick me out in the crowd or anything necessarily. Sometimes you might see someone who I'll recognise, but yeah, like they recorded all of the flashback raves, and I went to about 6 of them. So like, I'm definitely on some of these videos, but that's exactly the time you're talking about. I just thought it was funny to get it out, and then also the Prodigy. This is another good one. Prodigy at the Phoenix 96. So 96, yeah, I was there for that. And that, again, copyright nightmare that it will be. And there's a wonderful advert. I need to get Prime. Don't listen to that man. He's not really rich. He's doing adverts. But the Prodigy at the Phoenix Festival, you know, stuff like this.
Blocker, mate.
We'll get to it one day. I don't want to put anything on the computer that might break it. But, you know, are these people not having some sort of semi-spiritual experience at some point? Is there not some way that, like, the culture and, you know, are these not leaders? And, you know, do we get into the realms of cult behaviour in some? Can we, with music and culture in this way? You know, there's a question, like, where are the lines drawn? Steve?
Yeah, thanks for that. I'm in video somewhere as well. There's a video of Nightwish playing Exit Festival in, oh god, when was it? Was it 2000 and I think it was 2008. I'm not sure, but like there's obviously shots where they pan out the crowd. I'm really far back though, so there's like no chance at all of seeing me. But just the idea of like, yeah, I was there. You know, I was at that gig. Yeah, so yeah, it was really cool.
Again, with no sound because, like, you know, copyright.
Yeah.
Like,
oh god, Nemo, it was a fucking banger. But no, these would argue were subcultures because they don't necessarily have like the religious aspect to it. I mean, speaking as like some, you know, we're into metal, that's a subculture. You know,
okay, yeah,
there is
right.
very.
Yeah, I get that. Okay, I'll agree that, you know, gangs, bikers, subcultures, music, right? Yeah. Unless, I'm sorry to cut you off, unless there's something you really wanted.
No.
Yeah. But what about, like, you know, you take a few E's, like, you know, you love everyone, it becomes a bit spiritual. Where do they then have to start saying, like, because you then start saying there are some hippies who take mushrooms and go off into the woods and, like, you know, like you get more spiritual, like, you know, like, so is there like, because with the drugs being involved in some of these things, I'm wondering, like, is there a line that you could push towards where it becomes a cult? What would you need for it to be a cult? Let me ask that more. Like, I understand that this is more
okay. Okay, right. The thing with cults is that they can vary wildly in their group dynamics, but there are usually a couple of common characteristics, and these typically involve the authoritarian control over the members' lives, veneration of a single individual, and extremist beliefs that are seen as abnormal or against society in some way.
Well,
and I remember the moral panic about like acid house and ecstasy and, you know, what that's doing, and, you know, come from heavy metals, Satanism and all that stuff. So I get that application, but there is also isolation from society, which again is a common theme, but these things aren't necessarily indicative of a cult when it's applied to a subculture as well, because personally I feel that isolation from society, and that's why I was into heavy metal, at least as a moody teen. Now I'm obviously past, mature adult now.
Let's go through. Let's
Not
break them down
children's
one by one.
entertainer.
Yeah, go back to the start one. The first one, you have to have a proper leader that everyone has to follow. Yeah. Right. So for it to be a cult, there has to be a
more
leader.
often than not, there is a central focus. Sometimes it's not even a human being. Sometimes it might be like an idol or an object. It might be a thing going on, like like an event coming. Say, because a lot of people focus around the idea of revelation and the idea of the day the earth ends, which apocalyptic cults are one of those things we do. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like a individual person that you gathered around. You be gathered around a belief, an idea.
Well, I could argue.
Fanatical, but
maybe I shouldn't do this because I'm going to argue against like a point that I don't really want to make. But I could argue that the rave is the thing. Is like the concept, like being in the moment, like being on the bike, where the rubber meets the road, like the actual in life action of doing it, almost like a whirling dervish, almost like Sufism, which I kind of believe, like in the moment of flow, like that is the thing, however you achieve it. But I don't want to really like go push too hard on that. I'd say okay, so there has to be like usually with a cult, it's a person or a big belief, like this thing's going to happen, and like this is the person you should get around. So I've got that right. The second one was. I can't remember. You just said
oh, the inner focus one, or the
you said there's a number of points, and then you got on
the third
to isolation.
Okay, right, yeah. Isolation and from society.
But before you got to isolation, we had there has to be
extremist
a leader.
Beliefs.
Extremist
there has
beliefs.
to be a leader. The leader typically exerts authoritarian control over members' lives and behavior, because everybody in that rave, everybody at the club, then can go home, and they go on to their lives and live their life.
Okay, but when the DJ says, right, everybody put your hands up and blow your whistles, if you don't blow your whistle, you're wrong. Like you're well wrong. You should be putting your hands up and blowing that whistle.
Yeah, but you're not taken out to the back and shot, are you?
I've seen some very moody bouncers that I thought, I'll just blow my whistle, thanks. I'll do what I'm told. No, yeah, I agree. You're allowed to do what you want, yeah. So there has to be an exertion of control by the leadership, and that has to be exerted over those within the cult, okay? So your freedoms are then restricted. Got that. Yeah. And then extremist beliefs. Yeah. We'll get onto the isolation because that was your last one, yeah, and you've got your little story about it as well, so we'll get you there. But on the way there was extremist beliefs as well, yeah. So that's just anything that's different from what everyone else believes, that's a bit different. So it could be like, I really think that Chris Martin and Coldplay are doing the right thing and should get back on together and do another tour.
No, like, that is extremist. See, that's the thing. That's extremist because it's against like the vast majority of what society deems normal and what the vast majority of people in society would be willing to accept, because there is always some disagreement with society. It's never completely in line unless you live in a dictatorship like North Korea. But most of the time, we can have disagreement, we can have varying opinions on things, and it's fine. But there are certain there's always certain lines drawn. There's always certain behaviors that are seen as by society as too extreme, too far. So, and again, those vary from society to society. They are culturally bound. They depend on the time and the place. So what's seen as permissible in one society might be seen as very taboo in another. So it has to be seen in the context of the society in which it is taking place. If a cult is forming in a society that says, say like, it's okay to eat dark chocolate, and a group arises that says, no, dark chocolate is the abomination. And somebody comes a central figure of that and leads the charge against Bourneville. That group will be considered abnormal. That group will be considered extreme. That belief would not be accepted. But there's another country where that's completely fine. Nobody likes Bourneville, dark chocolate. Okay, so just reaching for example there, because I didn't have one hypothetically built up. But it depends on the context of the society at the time. These beliefs have to be extreme rather than just a disagreement over.
I mean, examples of what I can think of recently would be like, Islamic extremism, like that would be like almost cult status. Then they've got their leadership and they're totalitarian and tell you what to do, and then it's extreme against any society, like even against Islamic society was extreme, wasn't it? So, like
But the KKK and white nationalism in America, the extreme right of Christianity, the sort of like the morphing and the bastardization of an established religion that far right groups tend to do, that could be sects, that could be cults, but they're typically seen as terrorist cells because of their beliefs and how they go about them. But their beliefs are extreme compared to the rest of society. So, they're starting off as a cult.
Does it matter if it's benign? Like, if your extreme belief was that dark chocolate was the devil, then it doesn't matter, does it? Because people just do it, unless you're
it doesn't matter if it's benign. The point is the behavior is normally seen as atypical. So it's abnormal behavior. So if the main leader is, exerting that much social pressure on you, that sort of authoritarian control, they will be affecting your beliefs and your behaviors. So you might start behaving in a way that is, again, contrary to what society believes as normal. And
that's really interesting as well, because today in society, right, we've got such a wide range of what's acceptably not normal. So maybe it's personally normal to you as well, or within a certain framework of society. Maybe it's about the amount of time you spend doing something or being with the group, or it starts to go outside your bounds of. And again, that would tie in with the totalitarianism that the leader telling you what to do, changing your own normal behavior into something that's abnormal for you, maybe. Or does it have to be extreme by society standards? And if so, that must be pretty difficult, because society.
I did have my very next point is actually these aren't necessarily hard and fast rules, because cults may not always display abnormal behaviors or that much control over their members. They may not put restrictions on how you dress, where you're allowed to travel to, who you're allowed to talk to. Members may just be allowed to go and live their lives normally and continue to go to work and see family and friends. But of a Saturday or a Sunday, they go to church and go to take part in a ritual that is seen by society as abnormal, and their membership of this group marks them as a cult member, even though they still go to work and do the normal thing. So think about how Scientology still tries to present as, a religion. Tom Cruise still goes out and makes movies. So members go out and they work amongst the community and they do their thing. They have their jobs, and Mormons will also similarly live their lives and have their jobs. And apologies to any Mormon viewers who, are offended by that implication that you're a cult. You are very much on your way to being an established denomination, and I think you are. Just because I've met some Mormons and they were quite nice to me, so I don't really personally have a problem with them. But I have also read Under the Banner of Heaven, so yeah. But the point is, at points, these religious beliefs have started off as cults. They have started off as small, isolated, loosely defined groups of people, and at that point, as they're growing, people join the group and yet still continue to work trades and live normal lives. So not all cults display those behaviors. They're not really hard and fast rules, but most cults will.
So not hard and fast. Did we get to the last one that you were going to say about
the last one?
Taking up
the last one is a little bit rarer. These are service based.
Wait. Okay, before we go on to that last one, you said taking up your time. We're doing a sub denomination of tangent now, but they had leaders that with these extreme beliefs, and you were going to tell me a story about how something took up your time and it was metal based, but it didn't mean it was a cult because you'd spent a lot of time doing it. Do you remember that?
Oh well, no, just that's the difference between a cult and a subculture, because into heavy metal and there's beliefs that are in that, and we have certain dress wear. We have certain codes about what's cool to wear and how you should look, and what you should listen to and what you shouldn't listen to, and there's social pressure sort of applied here and there in a jokey way about, you listen to them, fuck mate, you try listening to this, and there's certain things like that. But there isn't a central figure. There isn't a central sort of figure commanding and issuing these rules and edicts and telling us, every Sunday you need to be doing this.
Isn't it? Is it not? Wait. Is it not the devil? Is the devil not the central figure?
Not for everyone.
Not when they do the. I've seen the death metal, and they come down and you do the horns, and they get the devil on the stage, and he comes down. I've seen Ozzy Osbourne stage show with the devil thing comes down. You do. Is it not the devil?
Not for everyone. There's black metal bands out there, so it's Christian metal. Some of it's pretty good. Seriously, Horde. on black metal, so it's black metal, but with the message about Christianity.
Yeah.
Horde's album is really good. So,
No, yeah,
you know,
like there's no.
I listen to songs about like glorifying Satan, and then they'll listen to songs about glorifying Jesus. They're both good songs. So,
What I was going to say, right? So then, okay, so we're getting this thing. The cult is, it's got a central figure and extreme beliefs, but you can hide those beliefs and just be in society. It doesn't mean that you have to be like some sort of abstract human, but you do at some point do your like group spiritual, and the leader exerts control over you in some way, exerts some control. So then this final.
Go for Jolly's mum very briefly. I don't know. I believe in America, like Oddbod said, Church of Satan is recognized as a religion, but
it can't wait. It can't be a cult. Listen, it has to be a sect because
it has to be because it's an offshoot of Christianity. Yeah, so it must, by that definition, be a sect.
Like Lucifer is an angel that fell from heaven that God was cross with, basically, and said, "You're not coming back." If I've got that summed up quite right.
Given time, it will be a religion, and if it's considered a religion socially legal in America, you know, yeah. I mean, I've done it. I've done that as well. I've set my religious beliefs to Satanism at points during, on Facebook, and it's fun to do. Going through that period. But no, I've got copies of the. I've got the Satanic Bible and that. I've got some Aleister Crowley on my shelves.
Mashallah.
I've had me goth phase. I've had me metal phase. It's still sort of ongoing. Still listen to like Skeleton Wing.
Yeah,
I mean,
I adhere to Sufi Islam, so we make a good combo there: the Satanist and the Sufi.
I never took it seriously. It was only ever like a jokey, hey, I'm into heavy metal, Satan sort of, Satan, sort of thing. So yeah,
so like so we were going through. There's the Illuminated, where there's a cult leader, and it's this one person. They've got this gift of the gods, and they come to you, and you'll follow them, and they tell you what to do, and they take up your time, and you have to do these things that they say, like we're in those subcategories. But then you've got this other one, which is about the inner experience, and it doesn't need one particular leader, but most, if not all, cults do have a leader, even if they're inexperience based. And this will be about something that goes on within you, something spiritual that's like taking place.
So there'll be a ritual usually designed to sort of break you down and sort of like make you submit, and you usually have to reject things. And
you're saying about the Scientology there, where they go on
away.
At you.
Yeah.
You sit and they go on at you, don't they?
Well, yeah. These are the ones where you have to give up all your possessions and move in with the cult, and then you have to you follow their dress code, and you shave your head. And Heaven's Gate is a good example of this. They are the ones.
We'll talk about the individual.
We'll get onto
cults,
them, but
So. Yeah, I think I've got this around my head. Yeah, is that you're in the cult because you have to whatever it is you do. And I was trying to liken it to music or rock music, but we were saying for various reasons they weren't cults. But whatever it is you do, this experience you have, whether it's through meditation or whether it's through one of them getting the finger and sticking it up your bum, you have this experience, and that's the thing that you're in the cult with and for, and it goes on, and the leaders basically tell you more, and they, like you're saying, they break you down, and they go through usually within cults, the thing that you do, whether it's less meditation and finger, and it's a bit more telling you off and badgering you about your identity or something, but it's about the experience that you have that's different from being in a normal society, like you're having this spiritual experience. But there's one more kind of cult then,
this is the cult, it's service orientated ones. Sorry. These are the ones that are sort of like presenting as helping others. So, we've got a message for you. We want to help you. We can help you do this. Through our works, we will help you find inner peace and happiness. And they're not as common, but they're still distinct enough because they typically tend to proselytize more. Think about the oh god, I can't remember the name of them. The people who the Garanja people that sell you CDs and books about Buddhism. Fuck, I can't remember what they're called.
Do you mean the ones that go when you're at like our price in the
When you're at like a
Birmingham,
shopping centre, yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah.
they're fully in the gear, and like they've got the symbols, and then they sell you the little bit of incense and the like.
Yeah.
Harry Krishna.
I've got a couple of albums. Harry Krishna's. That's it. Thank you. Yes.
Yes. They never seem to fit in anywhere. They're like just in urban areas, just wandering around. Like there's always 4 or 5 of them. Like, I always wonder how does someone like tag along at what, like someone's out there with the shopping, yeah, and they're like, hello, this makes sense to me. You carry those shopping bags. I'm fed up with our price. Like I'm taking off my clothes and joining, and they just tag on, and then you just get one more, and it's just like one more joins in that way. I thought like, is that what happens? I guess.
Yeah, but these are the ones who sort of like basically spreads through the idea that works will be the way to revelation, and you may end up like living in a compound, working the fields towards a group that is led by a singular person once again. But some of you are farmers, some of you make products, some of you will repair machines and things, some of you will be security, some of you will be adherent to the prophet. I should have played more Far Cry 5. That's based around like escaping a cult, and it's pretty cool. But yeah, so
you have to do your jobs.
Are fewer. There are fewer of these cults because the others tend to be more. Well, it's easier, isn't it? You don't have to send your people out to do anything. You just have them here, so you can take advantage of them that way. Plus, it's easy to keep them, all in one place rather than having them out and like risking the chance that they might escape. So, yeah.
But it's almost a bit more proactive and organised, like almost like a military. Like you get in, and then they set you up getting the next one in, and going out and like it feels like that sort of cult is a bit more aggressive, maybe. Like
this is why people argue that MLMs are a cult. Multi-level marketing, and
pyramid schemes. Nice.
Yeah, pyramid scheme. Yeah. Things like LuLaRoe and
so they've got the central head figure starting from the top. That means this like successful person that's got their name on the products, yeah. And then you're forced to do something quite extreme, which is to badger people to like buy stuff off you on Facebook. Extreme beliefs about the products, maybe. Like you could maybe go there. I like thinking of things and saying, well,
it's
that
usually
could be
like a personality, sort of like a sense of identity attached to it. It's like the idea that you could be doing it. You're your own boss, your own thing. All you need to do is like, I'll give you the clothes. You need to sell them and get more people to give the clothes to sell, and then they'll get more people and you'll get more money. And so through these works you get success, through these things, through these beliefs. All you need to do is believe that we'll keep giving you the clothes and we'll keep you sorted and everything will be fine.
Yeah, a bit like that advert that we had on just a minute ago, like I'm rich and successful. If you follow my tips and buy my thing, then you too can be rich and successful. And then the tips are go out and sell the people the idea that you can be rich and successful, and you're like, hang on, is that what you were doing?
Give me 500 and I'll give you access to this unlisted 2-hour TED talk that I did about how to be successful, and then But
you can be in a cult where like the leader requires you to do lots of hard work in order to like be productive in the cult. That's an interesting one. So less common though, because people don't want to do a load of hard work. They'd rather do a load of meditation, have the wet finger up their bum. So we've got 3 different kinds of cults. You've got some examples of some specific cults, and there's a question that's been brewing that I think we should answer now before we get onto the specific cults, which is what, are people in the cult of thus? Can we start our own cult? And are we one? Like, I'm going to argue no, because although we're authoritative leaders who tell people what to do, they're free. They're like
without authority. I banned somebody and felt guilty about it for like a fortnight. No, I didn't ban them. I just timed them out. They were fine 5 minutes later, but I still felt like shit. We are not authoritative.
I don't feel bad at all. In fact, there are people that are on the ban list that probably shouldn't have made it. Maybe I need to go in and ban them, but I don't feel bad at all. I'm quite happy being the authoritative leader that tells people what to do. But no, there are other aspects of it that we don't meet, aren't there? Like I suppose we lack that religious aspect. Like I need to sort of, write myself a scripture.
It's that emphasizing your spirituality and like being the font of all knowledge or something.
Yeah, so I don't have the illumination to give to. Like, we're actually in some way we're illuminating.
You have a name. I mean, they're called the Chuffer Jets. So the
Chuffers and Chuffer Jets. Yeah, we've got a name. That's not all you need. A name isn't just all. It's like being in a band. Like, you know,
No.
you've got the name and you've drawn the picture of the
thing
CD,
is-
but the record contract is quite a long way away. Written down all the names that you
Never
call
got
all
there.
the tracks, but haven't written any of the songs. Like,
Yeah, if you guys could do the intro for us, that'd be great. We lack the sort of like the belief structure as well. We lack the sort of like ritualized social. Oh God, what's the word I'm after? It the ritualized social aspect to it. We allow people to disagree. We allow people to raise contrary points, and we will discuss contrary points. We don't enforce a rigid set of beliefs and behaviors. So we lack cult status in that respect as well.
preaching is required in some way. Like, you know, you get together and you listen to somebody tell you the stuff. Like, you know, like as part of it, maybe. Like, maybe it's not required, but do you know what I mean? Like in order to, like, that's an easy way to get everyone, like, to flip it into being a cult. An easy way is to have an hour where people listen to you tell them what to do and like how to behave. Like that, like, really definitely sounds really cultish, yeah. And like to
I
make
don't
it
think I'm
spiritual.
telling them what to do.
No. But like, if we wanted to be a cult, like, I would like.
If we wanted to be, yeah,
Yeah,
we could get like well more preachy and arsehole about it.
Yeah.
we could definitely, yeah.
It's weird, isn't it? Telling people, like, it's almost like parenting in a way, but doing it for other adults, like en masse. Like, yeah.
I don't know. I don't see it as parenting. I think you're all like adults who can make your own decisions.
No, but if we were to do it, if I were to start a cult, like, you know.
Okay,
like,
again, right,
we're
you're
not
trying
a
to
cult.
start a cult, right?
But if we were to,
I thought
what
you
we'd
meant
have
like
to do.
actually us.
I'm
Like,
saying
we've got a
what
better
we would-
relationship with our audience.
No, yeah.
surely.
But what we would have to do in order to become one, like the difference between what we do, like you said, what we do is the free discussion where people are allowed to voice their opinions. But for it to be a cult, like, we'd have to start telling them what to do a lot more. And we'd have to come up with some sort of strict routines, and like some form of ritual that like us, our cult does. And then on top of that, there needs to be some sort of spiritual guidance, some aspect of it that, you know, borders into spirituality, I guess. And then we sort of tick
That
all the
provides
boxes.
anyway. It doesn't necessarily have to be genuine as long as you make it appear like it is. You know,
So
you could
earlier
be
on,
lying
someone in
out your
chat said-
arse, but
So Jedi was not a religion, and like we had that thing on the census where everyone
we
picked
did.
Jedi.
Yeah.
But, big ups, Jackie,
Jackie sent
joining the
tippies.
cult.
Big ups to the Chuffer cult. I am your servant. Superchuffer owes 20 hugs.
Thank you, Jackie, for the 20 hugs. That's loads. So like, I feel like we should join. Like, so far we've had £30 for the cult, so I feel like we should.
Yeah.
Maybe there should be a cult. I watch another YouTuber, right, called Tyan, and Tyan, they joking it, like, it's jokingly called the Cult of Tyan, like the cult, we are the cult. But like, you have a YouTube figure, you have people in their chat around them. All it takes is a dip into spirituality. Are we saying, like?
A slight lean towards authoritarianism as well. You know, we do need a bit of structure because obviously it's the rules that have to survive. You know, the reason that some sects become established denominations is because they have that structure. Most offshoots of Christianity have survived because they've basically borrowed most of the pre-existing structure that has allowed Christianity itself to survive. So most of the rules are already there, most of the ritual is already there, most of, you know, all the commandments that are already there. So it's easy for it to survive because your rules are established. Whereas, you know, with a cult that's sort of a bit looser, it's harder because it's easier for people to start splintering into offshoots.
Have you got a
know,
theme in
and-
your notes?
A theme?
Yeah.
Not
The
necessarily.
YouTuber.
Just
Like, we'll talk about him another day then, like, because like, I understand that he like called himself a cult at one point. Like, he went on from being a YouTuber
right. I see what
and
you-
turned
no.
himself into a cult. But like, yeah,
I
we'll-
didn't think like that far out. No.
No, yeah, don't
But
worry. Like, we'll
it
talk
is
about him a different
interesting.
day. We'll do an episode on him
Yeah.
because I don't know enough about it yet. But so we've got the okay. So we're not a cult because we don't have totalitarianism, like where you've got a really aggressive tortoise. We don't have that as a leader, right? Totalitarian
Right, okay.
leadership.
It would
And-
help if we had like a compound. You know, if we
compound.
bought somewhere. If we bought
Right.
somewhere and we set up like a house, a couple of houses and a communal hall, and you know maybe like a well or something or some arable
well
land
for the
to
water.
come on.
Why do you
You know,
have to have a well?
yeah.
Can't
Just,
we
you know,
have
if we
taps?
established a place, you
I
know,
want
if we wanted to
taps.
make a cult,
Voting for taps.
and then people could
Well.
could join us.
Yeah, okay. All right, so we have a community, but we've got an
But
online
that's how we
community.
establish our authoritarian control. Then we have these.
Yeah, because you have to do what you have to go to the well every morning, otherwise you're not coming back to the. No breakfast for you if you haven't been to fill up from the well. So we have an online community though, right? And then we'd have to be a lot more aggressive
every morning. Nip to the shops.
We'd have to be a lot more aggressively, aggressive with people and mean about it. I'm thinking there are some YouTubers who are a bit aggressive and mean about the way they treat the people in their audience, aren't there?
Really?
Yeah, and then also but on top of that, the thing that we don't have is the spiritual aspect. So to set up some sort of ritual and spirituality and or claim of spirituality. That's interesting, isn't it? That there's only and that aspect is something that it's like seasoning in the dish. You can't really put your finger. Well, you can with seasoning. You know what it is? It's salt and pepper and what's that other one?
MSG.
Monosodium. Yeah, exactly. But it's something that you can't You could say we're a group and we're into motorbikes and we don't or we're into surfing and whatever. But someone could say but I'm. We're not only getting up in the morning and doing surfing at 9 o'clock and eating the right foods and the leader, so to speak, the best surfer, top one says, we're also seeing spirituality in this. And when I die, I go to surf God heaven. And now it's a cult. And we could even get from cult to sect to denomination to actual religion. There's a road through there. So it's only this aspect of religious. But the religious bit is the only thing that you can't you could say we definitely get up in the morning or we've definitely got this house or we definitely, but with the religious bit there's no, you could argue it till the cows come home. It's just a belief, isn't it? It's kind of weird.
Yeah. For us, if we were establishing the cult, it would either come from one of us saying, hey, we're the ones who know, so do this and it'll be fine, we'll tell you, or we can sort of implant the idea that it needs to come from them. It needs to be an internal thing. So it's if you starve yourself of sugar and give us all the chocolate, you will eventually find spiritual happiness. If you go out and till the field so that we don't have to, milk all the cows so that we don't have to, you will find spiritual.
I think the illumination one's good because they're them having to do the thing and work it out themselves. They're
it's
never
the most common. Yeah.
I've seen the people in our chat. They're never going to get there. So. Big ups. I'm only joking with you, Chuffers.
I love
with you,
Chuffers. Our chat.
Illuminatory. Yeah, but we could be a bit of both. You could do the illumination, and I could do the experiential. But
you got them out there in the field. Go right till it harder.
We should also get the.
You'll be there in the kitchen going, wash these plates. I want these plates clean enough to eat my dinner off.
And God will be happy with clean plates as well. So there's that part of it, that working part of it can come into it. Yeah. So it's not, but we're not far off creating a cult really. No one I was about to say no one really is. In a way, you work at Tesco, you do it for the money though, don't you? And Tesco tell you what to do, but you sort of follow their rules. And it might be kind of extreme to get up in the middle of the night and start stacking shelves. But if they want you to do that, that's what you're going to do.
That's a job.
Yeah, I know it's a job. Yeah. But the only difference is because you kind of have to do what they tell you. But the only difference is that you can leave and there's no real god of Tesco. We're not worshipping Tescos. The Greek god of Tescos.
It's more like the idea that just generally socially we have the definition of different behaviors depending on social culture. So when you do go into Tesco to do your job, you're like, okay, I'll stop the swearing, I'll stop the being a cock to random people who piss me off.
You have to put this plaster on your piercing.
Yeah. You have
I used to work at Morrison's.
If you're working in the bakery or with food, you have to tell your hair back. You accept these things because they're sort of how that functions, how that sort of institution of work functions. So whereas with your friends you behave differently, but in a cult that behavior is often controlled by somebody else and it can change at a whim. They can suddenly decide one day, no, I don't like you.
That's the same at Tesco.
I don't like sleeping with you. Go and
that's the same at Tesco. They can, on a whim, you can be off the checkout and doing the fucking mopping the aisles at a whim.
At least they're paying you and you get to go home afterwards. That's the thing. You get to go and hang out with your mates.
But this is back in the day when you used to buy 10 Mayfair on your break and sit there in the break room smoking
where you could
cigarettes.
get 10. Yeah.
Fucking hate this fucking Tesco. Fucking cigarette. And they used to put you on individual breaks so that your breaks don't overlap. So you've all got a break, but you sit there on your own. Everyone sits there on their own. And I'm like, this is good.
Yeah, we were split into teams as well so that we had a break because we needed eye breaks because we were monitors and our union was great. So we got 10 minutes every hour.
That's nice.
So we were split into teams. So, one team off the floor every 10 minutes, and so yeah.
I spent I was on the checkout, right, and the checkout belt moves, yeah, and like when there's nothing on it, it moves. So I got a biro, and what I was doing is I was doing this thing of Rage Against the Machine. I'd do a little bit of it, and then it'd go around, and I'd have to wait, and I do it. This is how I used to keep myself entertained, and I drew the whole of Rage Against the Machine, like not a graffiti piece, but like in creative writing, Rage Against the Machine. And then after my shift, the manager took a photograph, and he said, like, "Did you do this?" And I said, "Yeah." Like, it's quite impressive, isn't it? As it's going round, I've done the R, and then like I've explained to him the system, and then at the end he said, like, "This is the last straw, you've got the sack." And I'm like, "What?" But what? Like, you clean it off with just some spray and a thing. Like, you fuck it as a sack. You should be giving me a raise. Come up with a creative. Anyway, yeah, I'm glad I got the sack for doing that. If anything, fuck them.
One day I keep meaning to tell the story of how I got the sack, but it's a story for another day.
It's for another day. We've got. I'll tell you what we've got for today. We've got a series of different cults. Give me the overview of the names of the three. Was it three? How many cults have you got?
I picked three.
Okay, so what are the names of the three cults, and then we'll go one at a time.
I also have a couple of notes about when prophecy fails, but yeah, we all know about that point.
You want to talk about when prophecy fails? We could do that now if you want. Or do you want to do it after?
I think we've done it before. I'm sure we've mentioned it before. It's the study of a doomsday cult by Leon Festinger. It's a very famous piece, psychological research.
Yeah, because they didn't.
Social psychology, especially.
They thought they were going to die and they didn't, and it went past, and then they had to realign their beliefs and ideas. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we've got the. I've forgotten the name of them now again.
Festinger. They were called the Seekers.
No, but the three that you want to talk about today.
The three, right? Okay, yeah, okay. I picked Shinrikyo. Sorry, not Shinrikyo.
Fuck, am I going to put that into Google? This is a Japanese one.
I will spell it out for you. So A-U-M.
What is it called?
Shinrikyo. A-U-M space. There you go. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Shinrikyo.
I think Shinrikyo.
Shinrikyo.
I think you have to Rikyo. Cool.
Like a fighting game character. Shinrikyo.
Exactly. So I've got them. Well, at least I've got a picture of him. Yeah.
Yes. That's Shoko Asahara.
Do you want to just go through them like this, or I was going to list them off all at once and give me the names of the other two as well, so I know what's coming up.
All right. Okay. I picked the People's Temple because it's one of the more famous.
The People's Temple, ladies and gentlemen, stick around for that.
Yep.
And
apologies to anybody who's expecting. Oh God, what was the Timothy No, not Timothy.
If you're not going to do it, don't tell them. Say sorry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't put it in their head. They won't know.
No, because there's going to be some people who are like, "Oh, you should have mentioned this one." And it's like,
we will mention all the other cults you want, and we'll do another episode on them. So don't worry.
I know, yeah. It's just I need, for time. I need to be cut. I need an editor. So
yeah. So I'm editing
final
now,
one is
right? Which
as
is
seen on the thumbnail.
Okay, yeah. Wait. Before you say that, everyone get ready to hear what the last one's going to be. But the editor here is just in my brain is saying that like it's like being on stage and saying I'm not going to play this song tonight, so sorry about that. I wouldn't say sorry about not playing it. I'd just not mention it at all and then not play it rather than mention it and highlight the thing they're going to be disappointed about. So for future reference, don't highlight the thing that they're going to be. Yeah, but yeah. So the one that we're all looking forward to is this one where they wear purple and they've got famous shoes.
Well, they were discontinued.
What they called the name of the fucking cult?
Heaven's Gate.
The Heaven's Gate, that's it, you mentioned them earlier. Okay, yeah. So we're going to do this chuffer, then we're going to do the other chuffers, and then we're going to do the Heaven's Gate. So stick around for that. I should have said that right at the start of the episode. Edit that in your brain if you're watching. Remember it from earlier. Do you remember that from earlier? I'll gaslight you for about 10 minutes about it. Do you remember earlier I said it? Earlier.
When you said it, yeah.
When
I remember, I was there. It was at the start of the show, the stream. It's a shift then. You've got the idea of work in my head.
We'll all have a 15-minute break to go and sit in the room and curse the company for about 15 minutes and then come back.
Do you think of these as episodes, just out of interest?
Yeah.
I think of them as episodes, yeah.
Yes.
All right, cool.
I hope so. We're going to try and launch it on Spotify someday and, move it onto its own channel. It needs to feel like you can come back to it at any point in the world. Just go back and watch the episode about this or the episode about that, yeah. Not quite as tight as like The Wire, where they lead into each other and there's counter characters and arcs, but we talk about things for an episode, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I've been watching some. I am on the fence about rewatching The Wire again. Because if thinking I'm going to be ill for a bit, I'm going to be lying down and doing nothing for a bit, I might as well watch The Wire again. God, it's going to take over my life. Because when I first started watching it, I binged it and I went through the entire series. And like the next day at work, I went in and my mate Nigel was like, "How you doing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what's up, motherfucker?"
Start asking for re-ups off my dealer. I literally like the terminology re-ups is like now everyone says it, but like before it was like, what do you want a 10 bag? And I was like, I need a re-up. And they were like, what?
That's right. Re-up.
What? I've run out of marijuana. Can I please buy some? Oh, you want a 10 bag? Like, no, I need can you call it a re-up for me though? Like, can you? I don't want to pay you. I want to pay the.
Try to convince your dealer to watch The Wire so they understand.
Yeah, I'm not going to pay you. You're going to give me the weed. I'm going to pay the other lad, and he's going to come from around the corner. All right, like they're doing The Wire. Yeah.
The corner boys, like.
Anyway, yeah, we should all definitely rewatch The Wire. Definitely should. But before we do, let's talk about now. My green screen is not perfect. I do apologise, but we'll talk about it another time. But here's a famous man.
You can reveal that if you want.
No, I want to do it another time. It's not lit properly. All right. Now I have to tell them behind my green screen is a space because I've now put up a curtain instead of a shabby piece of paper. It actually looks worse because of the way it's being lit and the way it's working. But theoretically, it's better. And when
you'd have ironed it,
I'm not ironing. Amazon. Theoretically, it will look better, and then sometimes I'll remove the curtain, and it won't be a problem or a faff. And then behind it, we'll have a lit space with other things, like a streamer does, like a little room. So trust it's a step forward, but it feels like a bit of a step back. Right. Anyway,
why don't you just key one in? So it looks like you've already got a nice room. Convinced that's what Sam does. If it wasn't for the fact that I've seen his cat walk up like behind him and come back down.
That's right. That's what that other man does. We shouldn't talk about him. He just like uses green screen to pretend he's sat in a room, and like he is sat in a room. So I don't know why you need the green screen because you are sat in a room. Right. Anyway, enough about this green screen. We're supposed to be doing cults. Right. That was your cigarette break. I hope you're all coming from your cigarette break now. It's time to get back to school. I think
the morphine's kicked in. Yeah. So
this is, and I can't pronounce his name again. Amshramrenko. Right.
No. That's the name of his cult.
That's the name of the cult.
Shoko Asahara.
He's good at these pronunciations, so listen to what Steve said.
Previously, because I've watched a lot of anime, he was previously known as Chizuo Matsumoto, and he changed his name to Shoko Asahara in 1987, and incorporated ideas of like Buddhism and Hinduism and Christian millenarianism, which is the idea of world-ending points and things like that. So he declares himself Japan's Christ.
Oh, that's quite. Wait.
He publishes his book.
Wait. So in 1990, so for a while he's been going around thinking about religion, having a bit of a go, bit of a taste, a bit of a sample. He likes a bit of this Christian end of the world idea that you said with a bigger word, but and I didn't really learn the word, learn the concept. And he's gathered this stuff, and then he's decided to come out as Jesus. Like that's quite a bold statement, isn't it? Like,
it's a bit bold, but it's not completely uncommon. There have been many
big ups acoustic
people
gymnastics
attempting a cult. So there have been many people who have claimed to be Jesus. I believe, in fact, I've not completely checked this, but I remember hearing a long time ago that in parts of like Israel it's considered like a serious psychological delusion, because they've always got people coming over saying, I'm Jesus and I can solve the problems. So they consider it like an actual delusion over there, but I'm not entirely sure that's true. But I remember hearing that a long time ago.
A lot of people who have psychotic delusions, like the delusions of grandeur, step in, don't they? And they believe that they're in some way either connected to, can hear voices of, or in fact are in some way divine. So I get that. This guy's not doing that though. Like he's maybe like, do you think he is doing that, or do you think he's not psychotic? Like, is it that he's just like come up with a good scam, or like has he put together a reworking of religion where he is Jesus? It feels like a really weird thing to come out with. Like, I've been investigating these religions. I got really usually you'd get really religious, but you wouldn't then decide to start your own. Do you know what I mean? Like you just sort of go with the one that you're
normally adhere to one.
Yeah,
already. But occasionally you do get somewhere. And again, a lot of these people are going to display a lot of elements of narcissism that we're familiar with. So there will be delusions of grandeur in here.
I suppose it's hard to know,
That
isn't it, on
fucking word
each
for me.
individual case, though, like whether
Yeah.
they believe themselves to actually be Jesus. Like you could reread like a spiritual text and say, "Oh wait, God is within me, therefore I am God," and like that's a kind of a cool
Yeah.
idea. But then to go on and say, "Therefore I am God, so I'm not paying for my shopping," is a different step entirely, isn't it? Like like so. Do you think like he? I suppose you can't answer for him, can you? Like, but in some way, he's put himself out there as being the main one. Like,
Yeah, I'm
Jesus,
afraid I can't, and he's dead, so he can't answer for himself. But
And we wouldn't be able to
I
understand
would
him because it'd be
assume
Japanese. So.
you never know when people are like this. You never know like how delusional it is, and whether it is coming from a place of genuine delusion or whether it's just I'm going to scam people out of money and I'm rolling with it. But either way, he sort of travels a bit around Japan and starts preaching this mixture of Hinduism, Buddhism, and Christian millenarianism. I hate that word. So he starts saying, "Look, the world's going to end. It's going to be in 1997. The world's going to end." But the cult has been around since 1987, and during that time, they've started attracting some controversy. There's allegations of deception of members and recruits and holding people against their will, forcing members to give up like money and possessions. They've murdered cult leaders. They've murdered cult members that have tried to escape. They've murdered their families.
That's
They've murdered
escalating
lawyers who
quite a
have
bit.
had cases against them. These allegations were never really proven until later.
Right,
But
because I was going to say
these things are dogging them.
you can when you come in, like leave your keys. That property becomes part of the cult, and like leave your credit card and all that. But also, you get murdered. I didn't know that was on the pamphlet. So
If you leave, yeah.
Oh, if it was the ones that try and leave mainly, was it? I don't know. I'm asking. Yeah, it seems like a bit extreme. It seems like a big jump up. But so he's gone around and he's gone saying, "I'm Jesus," and follow me. And some people have decided to follow that, and they've said, "I like the way you spin this text. I like the way the edge you put on it, and I also like your fine beard. Have my keys." Like, it's been going well for him.
It's a fine beard. He's got nice hair. I'll give him that. But he does demand such extreme things from his followers. But again, enough people sort of come to believe in this idea of this mixture of like behave a certain way and you get reincarnated, because obviously he's incorporating elements of Buddhism and Hinduism into his belief structure as well. So he's mixing it all up. He's taking the bits that sort of like work and have the best chance of establishing themselves. And he starts settling up as a cult, as a church. And he tries to, say, "I'm a church." Obviously, he's considered a cult because that's what he is at the time. But he's there saying, "I'm Jesus. The world's going to end." Also, I'm going to unleash anthrax into a city. So
That's terrorism.
he attempts to do that in 1993, and it fails. He attempts to do it from the rooftops of buildings, and the devices fail to go off.
Oh, thank God for that. Streaming. So it would just pick back up. So just like I'll watch it for a second till it picks back up. It's just literally OBS does it. I don't know. It's not anything else. So I know that it should just pick back up. Yeah.
Well, King Jack had problems with it, didn't he?
OBS does updates, and after the updates, sometimes it will freeze, and then like Windows and. You know what I mean? Like, the quick answer is just turn it off and on again at OBS, and then it works. Hi, we're back. Yeah.
We're back, right.
So we were just talking about this man and like the bad
I
things.
can't see you though.
You can't see me
on my screen.
Reload it. You can't see me. What on? Which one can't you see me on?
Our screen. Our video.
Video. Wait.
Our room.
How many windows have I got now? More windows than Buckingham Palace, mate. Right. Control room. You're in here on my video, but I'm not yes, okay. Start virtual.
There we
now
go.
You can see me, yeah.
I
Got
see.
it.
Yeah, well cool.
Got it.
So they fuck up the anthrax attack.
Right, so we were doing a timeout on that actually, weren't we?
Yeah.
So they did, like, as part of a cult, this guy thinks he's a bit of a Jesus. Like, we were going to talk about the murders, they come in at the end because they got discovered later, yeah. But like, I can understand that some people might like somebody, think they're great, mystic, spiritual, decide to follow them. Like, were they living a good, like, up until the anthrax, before the anthrax, were they living like a good life? Like, were they having a nice time, or was it this controlling, coercive? Like, was it squalid? Like, do you know what I mean?
There were a lot of allegations of that, so I would assume that they were true, and these people were really having like a shit time of it. But again, he is exerting a lot of authoritarian control over them, so people find it very, very difficult to leave, and especially because if you leave, not only are you likely to get murdered, but probably your family as well. So it's easier to counter social pressure and stay. But not everybody ends up, thinking, I'm all right with unleashing anthrax on city.
Yeah,
so
because
I don't want to do that one. Somebody else can do that. I'll stay here and service your needs in other ways.
And like building up people from like a spiritual angle and reincarnation and like whatever, like building them up from that to let's go and kill a load of people with anthrax. Like feels like quite a jump, doesn't it? Like, I wonder how, like with the coercion and stuff like that, I guess. But like, yeah, I wonder what kind of preaching or practice, like what was it these normal people were doing? Were they doing something wrong against the religion in some way? They needed to die, or like did he explain it?
Leaving, leaving, but also leaving.
But the anthrax of like releasing anthrax to like the mass population, like he was building his followers into terrorists.
Again, with a lot of cults that are formed around a certain individual, the opposition to society can be quite antagonistic. It can be quite violent, and this is how you end up wandering into a place where you're talking about the definition of terrorism and terrorists and what makes a terrorist or a freedom fighter and all that stuff. But typically, cults find themselves at odds with society, with law, because they're preaching or living a lifestyle that goes against a law somehow. Where they, like with I think in America, Ruby Ridge. Oh no, let's not go there because I can't remember quite the details about that. But there was. Do you remember that that farmer that sort of like they sat down in protest in the middle of, I think it was in the middle of a road, and he had like a shotgun to his thing and he was covered, and they were doing that in protest over something, and so like it's difficult to pull an example to mind, but typically cult leaders like that could find themselves at opposition with the law, and as a result, any sort of like intention or attempt, to enforce the law and sort of like say, look, we've heard allegations of say child abuse in this cult, in this group, and we're here to examine it, and we want to talk to you. They could go like, no, get off our property, and then start preaching to their members, look, the government's against us. The government's coming for us. The time is coming. We need to start striking back. So, yeah. And I can't hear you again.
So it's like siege mode. Like you sort of say to them in that
way.
Yeah. Interesting. Like everyone's against us. We need to get together as a group and like don't listen to the outsiders. And that can create an environment where you might do some quite bad things against some quite nice people. Like even again, like it's weird thinking about the stuff that's been going on the internet, like like the certain streamers that we watch and detract, like their groups would say, oh, we go and do some trolling on their side, ha ha ha, and like get them
we're
back
in their discords.
You know what I mean? It feels like you can actually turn some quite nice people into doing some quite silly, mean things, I guess. But this was quite worse than silly and mean. They decided to release anthrax, but it didn't work, so it backfired. Did it backfire so they all died on the anthrax, or did it just not go everywhere?
It just didn't go everywhere. It didn't go off. So, yeah. Instead, they moved on to sarin gas, which is quite easy to manufacture in comparison. And
wait. I thought you were going to say that. So when it didn't go off, like they decided that was a bad move. We're not going to do that sort of thing anymore. But instead, they stepped up to the more lethal and easier to release sarin gas. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So from a refrigerator truck in the city of Matsumoto, they successfully dispersed sarin gas, and they killed 8 people and injured 500 more in one way or another. So, yeah, they did very well there, and they were quite happy with that. So they went on to, in the next year, release sarin gas in the Tokyo subway. And this is the incident that they're most famous for because it happened in the morning, killed 13 commuters, seriously injured 54, and overall affected up to 980-odd people. So it was a huge attack at the time.
After the first attack, they didn't know who'd done it, and they managed to get away with it. And
Essentially, yeah. Because the way Japanese law works is the police. Japan has a very, very high conviction rate. Like, it is abnormally high. And there's a lot of claims about institutional corruption where the police will not pursue a case if they don't think that they can get a conviction. And if they do, they will with everything they've got to do it. But if they don't think there's a chance. So it's like, if you find the bomb, great, you're going to investigate it, try and find who it is. But if there's no real clues, you're probably not going to be like, well, we can't find anything. So what do we do? And then the next attack happens and they're like, right, we think it's this group. And then, oh, look, they've just let off a fucking gas. They've just done a terrorist attack in the subway station. Right, that's it. We're having yous. Right, so Asahara ends up arrested on the 16th of May. He's found hiding in the walls of one of the cult's buildings.
It just sounds, before we get to the process of that as well, it just sounds insane that you would be able, like, it is like far off, like, talk about extreme behaviours, like getting a truckload, like a full truck of dangerous gas and then driving into a city and, like, you know, it's like Batman style villainy. Do you know what I mean? It's like something the Joker would do or something. It's just like full on. And I guess he's not driving the truck. Like, I guess, you know, he's telling other people to do it. So, yeah, like
very, very Manson-esque. Very like, hey, I didn't actually do anything. It was my followers that did it. It's like, yeah, but you commanded them to.
And also, like, what it achieves for him is that the rest of society, like, really does hate him now, and he has to get arrested. So, like, I don't, like, it's a kind of weird move from the position of having people under your authority and exerting this control over them to making them inflict ill on society so that you get punished. Like, it's a really strange move. But
you convince them that society is against them. They've come to you seeking something.
Yeah, so you've convinced them that, yeah. Like, but,
so,
like, but then you end up in like, I'm hoping, like, the next step is he gets him put in prison. So, like, it wasn't such a smart move from him, was it? Like, really, like, he could have convinced them to go out and, like, I don't know, do him loads of shopping or something and, like, get him loads of stuff. Then he could have been happy with his stuff. But instead, like, he decided to murder loads of people, and, like, now he's in prison, or, like, worse, I suppose. I don't know. Like, you're going to tell me.
Yeah,
but...
no. Well, actually, he ended up executed. He was charged with, like, 23 counts of murder and, like, 16 other offences, like, you know, your terrorism offences. Found guilty on all of them, sentenced to death, and along with 13 other prominent cult members, executed by hanging on the 6th of July, 2018. So they had you know, arrested in 95, finally executed in 2018. They appealed a lot, but Japan has a death penalty, 23 counts of murder.
Did he get done, or did all of the people in the cult get done? Like,
not all of them did.
Yeah.
Mainly people who were involved in the plots to, you know, release the sarin gas in different places. So
I suppose, yeah, you can't just take everyone in the cult and just be like, look, you were all in the fucking room. You're all going to the gallows. No, you can't do that, can you? But he wonders. I wonder how far complicit people are. You know, because they've been in the group for a long time and they've, like, you know, been part of this whole thing, haven't they? I suppose he puts the rules come from top down. So
yeah. Especially if, like, you'll say, you know, you're a woman and you're there and he has a preference for you. You're there to serve his sexual needs. You're probably not the one who's going out and driving the sarin van. So, you know, you can't really be prosecuted for that. You might face a minor charge of, like, conspiracy, you know, or knowing and not informing the police. But you're not going to...
It makes me think about how the Nazis, like, you know, a lot of Nazis didn't do, like the worst things, like, just did sort of, like, really minor things and just went around being Nazis on the wrong team. Quite a lot of them did some really bad things.
Following orders.
But like, I mean, not even the ones who were, like, you know, just putting people on trains or anything. Like, I bet some of them just worked in the fucking, you know, cookhouse of a...
or a munitions factory, like,
you know, just like something that had no like I bet there were some Nazis who weren't even, like, politically bothered about any of that politics and just happened to live in the society of the time. But, like, everyone who was on that side of the fence, like, was a Nazi and they're the baddest, aren't they? So in some way, I'm putting everyone in his cult as, like, they're the baddest because, like, they've contributed to this situation. But yeah, I see what you mean. Like, some people might not be the baddest; they might be just in the system.
But 14 of them were killed anyway, including him. So yeah, that was Aum Shinryoku. They do still exist today.
I couldn't be
Thank you,
happier.
Louise,
Brown
for
sent
the
tippies.
entry into the cult.
Superchuffer owes 3 hugs.
Thank you, Louise. My message.
Wait, is that from?
I don't know. I don't know. I just got it. I could make it bigger actually. If you want me to make it bigger for the next tippy, I'll put the.
If that's the
animation
modern
on.
Wicker Man, I'm going to be so upset with you, Scott.
I just picked. I asked it for
Oh, you
Colt.
had
I just put Colt. So whatever top one that came up for Colt, and it looked. Oh no, that looks a bit Colty. I'll put that. Yeah, there's one more thing I wanted to say about this guy before we move on, though. And like we were saying about my green screen, so
that line of green down his hair.
well, he's got the same curtains as me. Look, like this is why my green screen is now some curtains, and they've got these folds in. And they're very difficult to get the creases out, which is why it's not working properly. But he's got the same. He's got.
Yeah, behind him is the creases in his fit. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to move on to the People's Temple then? Because they probably won't have the same curtains as you. Oh God, no! Be careful with you googling for this.
I have got the safe search on because we did an episode about Angry Alan's internet search before. But right now I've moved the frame so it doesn't fit properly. Hang on. Right, that's better. But I will just move it out and then I'll just search for it. What was it called? People's Temple. Okay.
Yeah, the People's Temple.
There are
People might know the name Jim Jones. They might know.
There are some definite pictures that are definitely not like Google's not going to like them. So
Maybe
it's this
Jim
man
Jones.
with the glasses,
Maybe search Jim Jones.
the picture of the man with the glasses. Yeah.
Yeah.
He can go in. Yeah. Him. Man with glasses. Jim Jones.
Elvis-looking motherfucker.
Although some of these other pictures maybe should go in as well. But they do. To be honest, it just like pictures like of loads of dead people was what I could see. So yeah, tell me about loads of dead people.
Okay, this one I had to pick because it is very famous. It's one of those that you have to really get into, and there's a lot about it. So I'm going to try and condense this and be quite quick and hit like the main points. So the People's Temple of the Disciples of Christ, founded by Jim Jones in 1954. They were a new religious group known for the mass murder-suicides that took place in their settlement named Jonestown in 1978. This is exactly Dover and Dolly's mum, sorry. This is the one where "don't drink the Kool-Aid" comes from as a term. Even though it was Flavor Aid. I feel sorry for the Kool-Aid company because they're like, well, we didn't do out. It wasn't us. But yeah. Groups initially founded by Jim Jones in Indianapolis in Indiana, and he becomes very popular by preaching to poor countries, poor cultures, poor people, poor communities.
Let me time you out, right? So we're in America, yeah? We're in the South, in post-war in the South. He's got his collar on, so he's actually proper. He's like when we talk about the cults that come down from religion, he's come down from the organised religion part. He's actually started out with proper Christianity going on, and he's gone his own way. Yeah, he's become very popular.
No baptism. What's the word I'm after? There wasn't like preaching.
Evangelical.
Evangelical. Thank you. Yeah.
So he's become very popular. Okay, I'm getting the picture.
He preaches to poor and marginalized communities, which in 1954 in America is quite radical, and he builds influence in these communities by starting like community programs like soup kitchens, job outreach programs, and so like really helps communities grow. And as a result, his population. I don't want to say commune either. You know, his group, his flock, the people coming to his church explode basically, not literally, but you know they grow. There's a lot of them. He's very popular,
So he fits this illumination type as well. He's like very popular. He's a central figure, and he's literally because by merit of teaching the word of God, like he gets that extra advantage as well, doesn't he? This one's been rubber stamped by the big house. He's illuminating their lives and making things better, I suppose, like through teaching them. And he's an illumination one, yeah. Maybe there's this like combination of inner. What was the other one? It was inner
works
experience, yeah. Like because you go to these churches, you know, he's very
they're active in the community, so they're doing works as well. He's good mixture of like all three.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
But then again, that's like how he builds his popularity, and that's how the People's Temple begins to grow. They start to like expand across several other cities in California and mainly San Francisco. And the bigger they become, the more scrutiny they're subjected to by media and by newspapers. And a couple of critical articles are written, and Jones starts to have like a bit more of an antagonistic relationship with the media, and then the government. So he starts, thinking about, well, maybe we should move elsewhere. Maybe we should move the group somewhere free from, prying eyes of newspapers.
I got a question.
Police,
You were saying he's like, I thought he might have been like Georgia and that sort of way, just from the Bible Belt aspect of it. But you were saying he's like more never eat shredded wheat, like the west side of America with like California and all that. And he seems to have a very black congregation. Is that right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Which again, at the time, radical. And few people were, as a white man, for a white preacher to be focusing mainly on. I think at one point it was over 70% of his congregation, which was the word I was looking for earlier, was black. So he for the time, quite radical. And again, he did good in the community, and you have to acknowledge that even as you go into the horrors that come. It's like, this is how he founded his this is how he established himself. This is how he established his church. He did good in the community to bring people in. And he said, join us. We can help.
So, because it's a really weird thing.
If you're poor and you need help getting a job, I have an outreach program for that,
Like, it's a really weird thing that you're going about.
hungry.
This story so far could be like just a success story in terms of a religious outreach person who took the word of the gospel to communities and built and grew. Like, this sounds like a good thing, like, in terms of our social construct. So how did this go bad? I kind of feel a bit worried about asking, like, how did this go bad?
There's a number of critical articles published, and Jim Jones starts to get really tired of the press sort of coming in and asking him questions about, how his congregation are, and, the state of how things are with people and how they're treated, and how much money he's taking from them and all this stuff. He starts getting really fed up with these articles, so he starts thinking, I need to move elsewhere. I need to move where there is no press. And he starts thinking internationally. So he eventually settles on Guyana, because it's a place in South America where Guyana. Yeah. He wants to move them out of the country. He wants to leave America and go elsewhere. So he picks Guyana because
I'm going to need the maps, Google Maps. Don't show them where I live. Oh no, it's there. It is, and let me zoom out. Oh, so it's like, oh wait, Venezuela's there. I always thought Venezuela was down the bottom. I thought Venezuela was around here. Right, so Venezuela's up there, and Guyana's like next to it, and Suriname. I've heard of Suriname. They have problems. Like I've heard of that, like war. And there's French Guyana.
That's where Father Ted is threatened to be sent, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah. Do you remember the episode, The Passion of Saint Tibulus, where they have to stop the film by protesting, and it becomes really massive?
Careful now. Yeah.
So down with this sort of thing. Yeah. So he settles here because.
Okay.
Right,
so wait, but these people, they're United States citizens.
Yeah.
He's from over this way.
San Francisco. So yeah.
And they're getting together. They're doing their outreach Christianity. They're a big group. There's lots of black people in the community that are part of their congregation. They feel maybe, socially oppressed and these other reasons. And he's decided that we're going to go. And he's decided we're going to go down here through Mexico, Venezuela, go on. He settled down there. It seems really weird to me that, like, I think it would be even more of a sell to say, look, in terms of like Haile Selassie and their reading of the Bible and stuff like that, like the African homeland, like a lot of black people in the congregation. Like, I'm not being racist here, but like there are actual like Rastafarian religions that would say let's go back to Africa. But like to take people to like this doesn't seem like that. Okay, so there are reasons apparently. Go ahead, tell me the reasons.
Yeah, there are reasons. Okay, first of all, it's a place where his black congregation can live in peace.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely like a selling point. That's going to be a great thing to sell to the majority of your congregation. Hey, this place where we're going to move, you will not be harassed.
Yeah, but so is Alaska
or by other people.
So is Alaska, and it's only up there. You have to go all the way through Mexico. Okay, you got that, but it's like it's being sold as like this our own place, our own free place. Like no one's around. Like no one's going to mess.
We could set up a settlement here in this place where you will be free of oppression. Secondly, it's the only English-speaking country in South America. You want to get out of America, you want to move south. They speak English, so problem solved. Great, easy, sorted. There's a place where you can buy a lot of land to set yourself up, and they already speak English there, so you won't have any problem sorting things out when you get there. It's going to be a piece of piss. And
It's
thirdly,
like one road. Hang on, wait. There's just like one road. They've got. Well, honestly, it's worse than the Craggy Island. Look, it's got
border.
one. Is that? Oh no, I think that's a road. I think that. Oh, is that a board? I'm confused. Anyway, look.
Apologies to people that are from Guyana watching this.
No,
I think you've got a lovely country.
No, they don't.
My dad knows someone. My dad used to work with someone from Guyana, so.
Okay, listen. The country's lovely. The people are lovely.
Yeah.
I don't think there's many of them watching us on this show, so I'm going to be going so bold as to say they haven't got as much urbanization and stuff going on as I would like for a nice relaxing holiday.
Especially.
Like it just looks like fucking loads of jungle and like untouched jungle, basically, just like fucking loads of it, which is great and everything. But like, if I'm going like, and I want to.
It's raining again. I couldn't be happier.
There you go, there's a
Coffee
bigger picture.
subscription from L.
I got a new coffee subscription, so I don't know how to even work that. Thank you for subscribing on coffee. That's really nice to do that on coffee. It's better than a tip because it's like a regular tip. I haven't thank you for that. Like I haven't set up anything special for you as a subscriber on there. It's just thanks for doing it. Thanks. Yeah. So I know that Guyana's nice and everything. Yeah, but like you're not selling me this is the promised land unless I'm like naive and like something's going on. But I suppose these people back in America, because it seems like bear this in mind. You're selling me the jungle. With like a road, like okay, I'm in Guyana and it's better than a road, and I've got the internet. And shut up. Okay,
no, I'm not.
Right.
I'm selling you an idealized idea of what it could be.
Yeah,
I'm selling you.
But they could they not have gone to like Nebraska or like Iowa?
No.
Like Iowa's quite big and there's not much going on. Like it's very similar in a way. Like look, they've only got a few roads. They've got far few. Oh no, wait, when you zoom in, there's more roads.
Yeah, but you're still subject to like press intrusion and government oversight, so
So no rules.
You want to escape all that. You want to escape all that and be there in your commune doing your thing.
How many people did you have going to Guyana?
It grows. I'll get there in a minute. But
Okay,
third
go
reason,
on then. I'll let you carry on. Sorry. Yeah.
Third reason, Guyana's a socialist country, and Jones has this heavy influence from his earlier readings of Marx and Marxism.
Right.
So that's like partially what inspired his huge preaching towards community and communes and getting together and, overthrowing the bourgeoisie, as it were, ultimately. Yeah. But the point is that he does manage to convince a small group
what's wrong with Cuba?
Move out there.
In Cuba, Cuba. Oh, just don't wait. Before even, I know I'm going to interrupt you again, but this is getting on my nerves because, like, I'd be in the cult, right? And I'd be like, I like this fucking guy. He's preaching the gospel, right? I'm going to bring my mates and my kids, and yes, this guy's teaching the gospel, right? Like, we're all in a crew here, we're having a good time, this is going well. And then he's like, my fellow peoples, we are to Guyana bound, and I'm like, no, wait, what? Sorry, next Tuesday I've got
no.
a podcast I'm doing.
To be fair,
like we are Guyana bound, and I'm like, I don't know. I put 50p in the tray now. Can that come back around? I can get that back because I didn't. No one told me about Guyana. I'll take the leaflet, but I'm not sure. Like this would put me off. If anything, it wouldn't. I wouldn't be like,
tide's refundable. Like, yeah. But he's not right. It comes across a period of sermons and time. He doesn't immediately just go one day, right, we're Guyana bound. It grows. He convinces them. He works social pressure over a period of time to eventually convince a small group of people to go out there and set up a commune. They establish a settlement. And then they send word back, yeah, we're settled, we're sorted, start coming over. So they do. And eventually, over 900 people are there.
So there's a few that go. Okay, so there's a few that like the hardcore that are really into this shit, and they go there early, and they get there, and they're like, "Yes, it's good. We've got tin goods, and the boat comes once every 3 weeks with all the toothpaste you can stock up on." Guyana's like the best place ever, and like then the other people come. Oh, really? Is it? I will come and have a look. And then, but most of all, when you turn up in Guyana and then you're there, like you're not able to go home, so you just stay there. Like that's your job now. You're there. Like you're not going home.
The odds
you can't get home because it's fucking miles away.
But the odds are most of the people that you know are there already.
Yeah. Well, they are now
they're
because
coming
you
with
don't
you.
know
They're
anyone
also-
else in Guyana.
No, but they're also part of the community. They're also part of the congregation. 'Cause
I just think how
the-
fucking shit this would be to turn up. I know Guyana might be nice, right? But to just turn up in fucking like the middle of the jungle with like, look at this. Okay, we're gonna drop the variety.
You're probably able to find the site on Google Maps. You're probably
dropping this
able to
in.
find Jonestown marked on there somewhere.
Jonestown
You know,
is.
but it's like it's not completely jungle. You know, they have cities there. Look, you can see roads, Scott. Bro, like your love of roads earlier. Look at all that roads there.
Not roads. I'll show you roads. Proper. We can't. Google didn't even do a drive round. Look, they didn't even do a drive round. You can't drop.
Well, yeah,
in
they're not
on
going
it.
to drive through it.
Fucking look. So you turn up there.
can
There's
see
like
roads
one
well.
shop, but they don't have a Solero. There's not a Solero for miles around, right? So you're there in this like, you know, these are they got
Oh, Scott, Soleros have got mango in them. I can't anymore.
mango ice cream, kitty no joy, ice cream yum. So look, I mean, I just think this is a hard sell for me, and I think when you arrive there in the fucking middle of the jungle, and like you know, like you talk about isolation earlier from society and stuff. That's it then. You know, you're not. Where are you going? Like, you can't wander off, can you? Like, where are you going? Like, that's you now. You're staying here because otherwise you die. That's you fucked. So like, yeah, it's a hard sell for me. But the people in chat here, Dove and Dolly's mom, saying they took passports and luggage and everything away from the people as soon as they landed.
Authoritarian control.
That'd be nice. There's no way you're taking my suitcase. Like, this is just absolutely no way you're taking my suitcase. Like,
And you get an
Pilkington's Monster
AK-47
Munch.
to the face. Sorry, but you know we don't need people like you who are going to question things. We need
This is
people who
all
are
the
gonna
Rizzler
work.
in the country in this suitcase. Right? This is the country's supply of good Rizzler. I'm not giving up this suitcase. No. If you think that there's any way you're getting this out of my cold dead hands, I'm not. You know, you think I'm rolling up with fucking bamboo leaves in the jungle? Like, this is all the toilet roll that I own. Get away from me. Like, it'd just be rubbish. So like, I think this is a rubbish sell. I'm surprised they did it. But yeah, okay. So you've got people down there. They go there. They turn up. All their life's possessions are taken away from them, and they live in the fucking jungle.
No,
Sounds
they're living
rubbish.
in like one of them huts. They're living in a place where they are building a commune. They just they don't have much time to do it before shit goes wrong. But I would just like to point out as well that this community is so big, and you've been loving the laughter. 276 of these people that were here were children. So
Right. Okay, so that's bad.
we're talking about
Wait.
like families now. We're talking about like people who are uprooting their entire families to go and move to what they have been told is a better life, free of like oppression and government oversight in this place where you could do work and achieve enlightenment and
Well, you have
this
to
is
do
what
work
they've
because
been
otherwise
told
you're going to
for
die.
months. So
If you don't go out and collect water, this is literally what you said earlier about having a well. Like, if you don't go out and collect water, and like this picture here is like one of the better huts. Like, this is they didn't all have good huts like this. This is the main hut for the good. Like, it's like the church or some shit. Like this, like most people were just scrutting around like for a yam in the woods. Like, this is bad news. Like, if you don't work, you're dead, aren't you? Like, in a situation like this, it's survival. Like, their community had to survive. It sounds nice that you get to do whatever you want, but you don't really have the free time and the what's the word, disposable income, because you're now working to survive in the jungle. Yeah.
it's a game I played a while ago. I can't remember the name of it, and it's going to do my head in, but it'll
Green
pop back
Hell?
up at some point. But it was like a simulator where you walked around like an old compound that used to be housed by a cult to find out what happened there, and it was surprisingly tense and like nerve wracking as you did it. Even though no jump scares, it wasn't a horror game, but it was just like this sense of unease and awkwardness.
Yeah.
Even though it was clearly based on Jonestown.
Do you know what?
So
You would
like the
feel
impact
it.
of this thing is felt for years and years and years.
When you got there, right? I mean, I know that you're going to tell me about the rest of the story in just a minute, but when you got there, like off the plane, and they took away your fucking toilet roll or whatever, your favourite toothbrush, and then like you're in here, like it wouldn't be like, yes, we're the best around, and nothing's ever gonna keep you down. You'd be like, I don't really, this isn't going well, and everyone would know, and they wouldn't say, there's no way we can get out of here. Like we're not the plane doesn't get you're not getting back on that plane. So I mean they probably say that to each other. You're not getting back on that plane, so you better fucking lift this wood and get this and build this hut for me because like you know like and you'd feel uneasy, wouldn't you? You'd feel like this isn't exactly what I was. It's like going on holiday and you get in the room and it's like dirty or whatever. You know, this doesn't look like it does on the brochure. This McChicken sandwich, my good man, this McChicken sandwich is woefully below par. There's far too much sauce. You know, like it'd be like
also.
You know,
I am vegan, so yeah.
Yeah, for me it'd be even worse. Like, wouldn't everyone be eating vegan out there? Because it'd be potatoes and rice and nothing. Like, you know, like, this like the potatoes would be the luxury. Like, just unless cannibalism was on the menu, I don't know what else would. It'd be awful. And like, you get there and you're like, this is not the holiday I expected. But I suppose I'm here forever. Yeah. So go on, tell me how forever went. What happened to the people that went there? How did this turn out fucking awful? Because I'm pretty sure it must have done. Pretty sure this must have gone wrong.
It does, yeah. Eventually word gets back to people who haven't gone there that, you know, hey, conditions here are pretty shit. We're not allowed to leave. Armed guards, blah, blah, blah. Can somebody do something? So November 17th, 1978, Congressman Leo Ryan visits the compound to investigate these allegations of abuse.
What, an American?
Yeah, an American. Yeah, because they're American citizens.
Right.
They've not been like patriated in Ghana.
So they're just on holidays
in Guyana. They're still American citizens.
This is like I want to go to the embassy, please. Like, well, the embassy's fucking miles away, and you're in the jungle. So, but the embassy's going to come to you in the form of a visit from this chuffer, yeah.
Yeah, Congressman Leo Ryan.
Well done, Leo.
And he has a look around, and despite them putting on that sort of like
of him.
appearance of everything's fine, everything's great. Look, you know, look how happy everybody is. Look, we're making food, and everybody's digging, and you know, everybody's helping, contributing. It's fine, blah blah blah. A couple of people are like, "No, dude, seriously, get me out of here. I want to leave." So a couple of them go with him as he's leaving. He takes them with him. I think there's 4 or 5 of them, maybe. But they'd all said, you know, we want to leave. We want to leave. And so he's there's them, and there's a couple of journalists with him as well.
Take me.
Yeah, but there's a couple of journalists with him who.
I haven't been to one stop in 6 weeks. Take me. You'd be like, have you brought Lucas?
I ran out of Rizzler weeks ago, please.
Where's the Lucasade? Please.
Smoking using leaves.
Can I have your socks? Just take them off and give them to me. I want them on. Just please. Is that a t-shirt you're wearing? Oh, please, can I borrow it? Tell me about fresh water. Just describe it. Just describe it. Like, what the fuck? Like, take me. All these chuffers turn up with their. I mean, I feel like this is literally the congressman when he arrived in Guyana. Yeah, so he's one of these people. But a lot of these people are with their cameras, and they're obviously with the congressman on the trip. They're from America. They brought their cameras, and they've probably gone before they've gone on holidays to Guyana and bought themselves a nice polo shirt and some evening slacks. Yeah, but really, what they should have just bought.
Well, at least at least 3 of them look like that bloke from Jumanji. You know, the hunter that comes out with the helmet.
Got the helmets on. We're going because they're going to the jungle. Yeah. But what they should have done is they should have just brought like suitcases full of Coca-Cola and like that, like just cans of Coca-Cola, and everyone would have been
bars of chocolate, like, some crisps. Like. Also, I see it in chat. This is all DSP stuff. Sorry, it's all mispronunciations that DSP's had. So I look forward to explaining it to whoever actually comes round.
Steve likes to chart the mispronunciations of a lolcow. I mean, they could be doing that for the other lolcow that we watch, except no one's committed to write them on their bedroom wall.
It's just happened. I don't like that this has been thrust upon me, but
and there are other places you could be noting them down in a notepad. You don't have to write them on the wall, but
could have a thread on Twitter. You know, I get tagged enough times on Twitter, people going, "Oh, he's mispronounced this."
But Elon Musk would own that, so then you want to keep that.
Almost
for yourself.
run out of space. So like. Congressman Leo Ryan.
I've got a question for people in chat as well before we go on the congressman. Yeah, there's the Discord link. I'm going to put in the Tippy's link as well. And I've got a question for you in chat. If you had to go to Guyana and start a new life in the commune, and you were only allowed to take one luxury item, you know, what would you miss the most, and what would be your luxury item? There's 2 questions for you. What would you miss the most in Guyana, and what would be your luxury item? Because I'm surprised. I think this is a very hard sell. But yeah, the congressman's gone. They've turned up in all of their fucking Levi jeans. Like, everyone in the audience has gone fucking wild. This is brilliant. Take me home with you. So it's all
All
started.
part of
This
the
seems
display.
like
They've all put on a, hey, no, everything's fine, everything's great. Come join us for something to eat. Everybody's happy here. Everybody's working to help the community grow. Everything's great. And then a couple of them are like, no, really, take me home. I want to go. So he leaves with a couple of people who have expressed a desire to leave.
so. This is like crumbling of the brickwork of the foundations here.
Yeah, because as they're leaving, they get to the plane, and several guards from Jonestown, who are armed, approach the plane and open fire on it.
What?
And they kill Leo Ryan, a couple of the journalists, and a couple of the people who are trying to leave. And
So are these people?
Yep.
The congressman. They kill the congressman.
Yep. Got to stop the defectors from leaving. I think they killed one of the defectors.
Yeah, but it's even worse because America will hear about this. They're expecting him home, and when he turns up not home but dead, like what the fuck?
But he's not thinking straight, is he? Jim Jones is like thinking the more important thing is to stop them people from leaving, because if they leave, it's all over. If they leave,
Jim Jones has said to these people,
was he a senator? Sorry, I apologize.
Go and shoot the plane out of the sky. Like he's like, they haven't just like acted on willy-nilly and thought like this is just getting out of hand. I just think I'll shoot my gun. Like he's actually ordered this, and like now it's like
before that plane leaves, I want them dead. Yeah.
Wow.
You have to stop them people from leaving at any cost, and that included killing the pilot, so they can't leave. They don't want to fly the plane. So people die.
I suppose we're in the free Republic of Guyana where we can just do what the fuck we want. So like things have got out of hand. So now you're killing American like elected officials. So now what happens is America has to come and bomb Guyana.
Not quite. Instead, Jim Jones calls everybody into the pavilion, and then the armed guards surround it. And he starts telling them, look, this is it. It's time for us all to commit a revolutionary suicide. He starts mixing up a huge vat of grape-flavored Flavor Aid, which I believe is like powdered cordial. I've always wondered this. I think it's like powdered cordial. You mix it in water. So like Flavor Aid or Kool-Aid, they're like powdered. But for us, cordial is liquid. And you just pour a bit in and then pour water in. So I assume it's like that.
It's raining again. I couldn't be
It's
happier.
£3 tippies. What we think about
Sierra
flavour.
J sent tippies. Tippies towards the MIMPS commune. Superchuffer owes 3 hugs.
Thank you. This is like, if you're American, you can tell us better in chat. I have seen this before, but we just in the UK we do like powdered drink. Are you nuts? Powdered drink. We have like liquid drink that we pour
Google cordial.
Yeah, cordial. I talked about this way back. Snippies actually went and bought a bottle of Robinson's squash, and I told her not to. I said like, this is not, you're not going to enjoy this. But wait, I don't.
Well, what's wrong with Robinson's?
Because it's nice for us in the UK, but in America you're just going to think this is like torture. Why did you make the kids do? I don't want to go on Amazon.
Like, you don't drink that. You dilute that. just so you know.
Yeah.
You dilute that. Like 1 part that to like 9 or 10 parts water, depend. 8 parts, however strong you want it. But you don't drink like straight from the bottle. My brother did once. He just wasn't thinking. Just like.
Yeah, I drank it from the bottle the other day. Yeah.
I think everybody has at one point.
But yeah. So, but Kool-Aid is like, look,
like powdered.
Anyway, they mix up this powdered drink. Yeah.
Yeah. And they also mix cyanide into it. So, yeah.
Do they know? Do the people that are drinking the drink know they're about to drink the cyanide?
Yep. They start calling them up. Parents feed it their children. Then they start drinking it, and then shortly after that, the effects become apparent and people start to realise.
So the pictures that I just saw a minute ago that I couldn't bring up on the screen of like basically loads of people just lying down outside in Guyana. Like that's all of them dead then, yeah? All the cult people.
Yeah,
that's not so funny now, is it?
And while all this is going on, while people are deciding whether to risk being shot or to drink the drink, because that's the choice you have to make now. Do you want a risk?
Well, you could have a gun.
Have a run for it.
Wait. The people with the gun. What about the people with the guns?
Oh, they'll do it as well. They'll have to drink when the number of people in the pavilion that are left starts to dwindle. They start coming in and drinking as well. So while all this is going on, Jim Jones is still preaching. He's still giving them, the sermon. He's still telling them about, oh, it's a good thing. It's a good thing that what they're doing. They're going to go straight to heaven, all that stuff. There is audio of it happening. And I highly recommend you do not listen to it.
Oh, no, I'm definitely going to have to
now. No. I mean, just to chat, people in chat, people listen. Don't. Just don't. I know you might be a bit curious, but don't. It's one of those that stays with you forever. And we had a sample of it in a lecture in forensic psychology once, where we were talking about gangs and groups and cults and things. It's some of the most disturbing shit, because you know what's going on. There's no video, this is just audio, but you can hear him talking with the conviction of a man who's fully aware of what he's doing, but going ahead regardless. He's backed into a corner now, and that's it. You can tell he's this is it. He's done. But he's found in his office, dead from a single self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. So he gets a quick way out, but they all have to drink cyanide and deal with the last agonizing seconds of their life, So, armed guards surround the pavilion, forcing everybody to make the choice: death by poison, death by gunshot, and eventually they're called in to drink it as well, or, that's it.
So everyone dead. And this is because they murdered the
congressman and the people.
The congressman. So that was definitely a bad move. Again, I thought that was a bad move when he called that one. Brought it all on himself. But it hadn't gone in Guyana. It had gone quite badly, hadn't it? Before everyone dead, it was going quite badly. They all wanted out. I'm just thinking back. I think the big mistake here for this was when they moved out from America. I think before leaving, thought it was going well in America. He was getting popular, and he had all people that were into his, teaching and that. Yeah, so he was doing well in America, and he was getting popular, and things were going well. And then he said,
I have skimmed over. I tried to make clear he did have several critical articles, and he became a bit more antagonistic towards the press and the government. I tried to skim over a lot of that.
Okay, but the things weren't going so well in America then.
Things do turn sour in America, and that's why he starts looking to move elsewhere, and that's why he eventually settles on Guyana. It's not just this guy wrote an article where he said I was a prick. Fuck him, I'm out of here. There was a series of critical articles, especially as they started becoming bigger and bigger in California, and San Francisco. So there's a couple of back and forth between him, law enforcement, journalists, and all sorts that goes on that I've skimmed over to get to the point of they go to Guyana, establish a settlement, and that's where abuses start to happen under the guise of, hey, everybody come over here and help us build a new life. It's going to be great. And then all that happens when word gets back to America that there's abuse going on here and shit's, please come help. So,
so when they finally
rather
went over
infamous
there,
one.
So wait, I've got another question before we move on to the next one, which is he murdered everyone and then killed himself, right? So did they just turn up and find all the bodies? Like they got recording. You said he recorded some of it, but essentially they just they turned up with a load of soldiers to say, right, we're going to go and sort this problem out, and instead it was already sort of sorted out, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was local police acting on America getting in touch and going, hey, our guy's supposed to be back and he's not. Can you please go check this compound? I can't quite remember, who it was that was there. I didn't note that down. But he was. The whole place was just discovered like that. There were some survivors, very few. Some people managed to hide under other people that were dying and avoid it. I think maybe two or three of the people who tried to escape with Leo Ryan and the pilot and the journalist survived that shooting. So there were a couple of survivors who would testify to conditions in the camp and how bad it was and why they wanted to leave and all that stuff and what happened. But mainly the sort of source for it all is the recording of the event, and it's not something I really recommend reading, but because it's very significant in that there's something like 900 people there. How do you make 900 people kill themselves?
Yeah, it seems pretty fucking extreme, doesn't it? I think part of it is that you're in Guyana and you've been completely taken away from everywhere and you're bullied into this at some point you're almost in a concentration camp setting and situation. It's almost similar to that sort of way things were going, but I don't know what he was preaching and what he was telling them, but completely nuts. And I think the top tip here is don't go to Guyana with the cult. I definitely don't be doing that.
Also, yeah, I mean, it's Flavor Aid. You know, could we drop the Kool-Aid thing now? Because I feel sorry for the Kool-Aid company. It's like Nike with the next one. It's like, it's not their fault, you know. But yeah, we do now have the phrase drinking the Kool-Aid, which typically refers to somebody just sort of like unquestioningly accepting an idea or a philosophy without critical thought.
I always felt that it meant that if you drunk it, you become indoctrinated with their views and opinions. Like, don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Much,
like, but now I understand it to mean that if you drink it, you would go off to Guyana and you're going to be murdered. So, like, pretty extreme. And again,
not everybody did. A couple of survivors, handful of them.
Yeah, and so we've got...
but your chances were quite low, considering that over 900 people died, and it's one of like the most significant. I think it is like the most bodies for a cult, you know, in terms of like how many people died.
Before we go on to because the last one we're going to talk about people who died again, but like there are cults where people don't die. Like maybe tonight.
Yeah.
Like, you know, maybe tonight's involved some tragedy at the end, but there are cults where it's not the main. It certainly wasn't his main aim to kill everyone. That wasn't his aim at the start of this.
No,
he wanted the man to
I
on
don't doubt that. It's even through his delusions about how important he was and how successful he could be in Guyana. I believe that he genuinely wanted to sort of like strike out and build a settlement that lasted over there. I genuinely believe that he genuinely wanted to do that for like good purposes, but I think he also was motivated by the fact that he could get away with shit over there that he couldn't over here in America. So he just wanted to escape a bit of legal trouble.
He could also be that he was like a massive pedo and like he just wanted to set up like, you know, his own.
There was a lot of abuse. Yeah, I don't know if he specifically is involved with abusing children, but I know that there were a lot of allegations of sexual abuse, but that's also not uncommon amongst cults because obviously sex is a powerful weapon and it can be used, you know, in a number of ways to manipulate people into doing.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been over that in the narcissist bit, didn't we? Narcissists use sex as a weapon. So
it's this double-edged sword, though, of like we're going to take you out to Freedom Town, where like you know you're free to do whatever, but also so am I, and I've got the gun, so like better start doing what I tell you. Like, yeah, it's a bit weird, but and
I have socially isolated from you. Either your entire friends and family are here, or they're over there in America, and you're not. So, you know, there's a lot of social isolation going on there. Because again, you've just basically moved people from the country. So, of course, they've not got a support network they can escape to.
How popular do you think you need to be to get, like, you know, like, I'm trying to think of it. Okay, so, like, let's say popular people of today said, you can come and live on my island, you know, like, or
Elon Musk.
You know, do you think Elon Musk, right? You think if he said we're doing a commune and it's going to be in Guyana and, like, you know, tickets are one way, come to join, people are jumping on that plane?
Mate, there are people who would pay to be surgically grafted to his anus. I guarantee you there were people.
Did he pay for the like? How did they get themselves out to? Did he pay for the like? You know, you join the church, you can get yourself out there. They'll sort of setting you out there. Do you think like?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I would assume that there was some way of getting members of the community in the church to Guyana. So yeah, I would assume so.
In chat, if you had like someone who would be the head of the who would have to be the head of the cult to draw you in chat. Because like it's weird, isn't it? We all vote for like I don't know, like different politicians, but I wouldn't follow any politician onto a desert island. I'm trying to think if there's anyone who I would like, you know, specifically.
Sorry, I did play with the cat.
Is there anyone in chat like you know anyone you would join on a desert island? Anyone you could follow onto the desert island? Like, do you like Blackpink enough or? What's her name? Yuki out of G Idol. I think if Yuki out of G Idol wanted to start a cult, I'd be in her cult.
I swear to God, I know they're called like the BTS army, but I swear to God, if they said take up arms and overthrow your government, like multiple countries would fall.
But they've been in the army, haven't they? BTS. They actually had to be.
Yeah, it's part of
national service in South
National
Korea.
Service. Yeah.
So they kind
I mean,
of
like the fans are called BTS army. So I reckon if they said like uprise. It's like across the world there'd be enough fans that they could realistically take a few governments.
Like at one point,
the
Bieber fans were so big and so deeply enraptured with Justin that you could call them verging on a cult, couldn't you? If only he'd said, "Let's do things a little bit more seriously," then he could have easily taken them all out to Guyana, and things could have been different for him in his music career. So, Trevor Noah in chat, Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley's dead though, so like. Jason Momoa.
one of my friends back in the early 90s, when you could have a certain range of hairstyles. One of my friends, one of the friends of our family, looked like a bit like Elvis from a certain angle, and they happened to work at Pizza Hut at the time. And there was an article published in the local paper who somebody had taken a picture of them from that angle where they look like Elvis. Elvis found working in Pizza Hut. she had it framed on a wall. But yeah, sadly, no, Elvis is. Yeah, unless you watch Bubba Hotep, I suppose.
Jim Morrison. When you think about people like Jim Morrison, right? Like Kurt Cobain, if he was alive, yeah, I'd do that with Kurt Cobain. But then it'd be a nightmare because Kurt, as much as I love his music and everything, like if I had to live with him and he wasn't washing up the dishes, like Kurt wouldn't be the best. He wouldn't be the best social person to be around. But like I love him and all the things he did. So I might not live on a desert island with him, but yeah. Like, I think the sex would have to.
I think I'd do it for Gwar.
I think you do it for them. Well, I think there'd have to be some I think you do it for Nigella Lawson, so I think if the glorious leader, I think if the glorious leader wanted me to have to join them in the bedroom, then I think that would change my opinion on who was leading the cult. Like Johnny Depp or Matt Damon in chat there. Yeah, interesting. So the final cult, because this guy was so popular, he got to take the people out to Guyana. He was like, doesn't matter who you put in chat and who you thought was important and special and you wanted to follow them. To those people, this was that guy. This was their Elvis Presley, Yuki from G Idol. Like this was the main.
This guy was preaching their religious beliefs. It's not necessarily a case of like fandom. We have to remember that these are like entire belief structures. This guy is like telling them about what is best for their immortal soul. And this is things that like actually inherently believe. So he is playing on that, and that's an incredibly powerful thing to play with. Your belief system is like foundational to who you are as a person. So somebody to come along and either validate that or like manipulate that is quite a powerful thing. So yeah, the right charismatic leader can convince a lot of people to do very extreme things. And yeah, he's just one very notable example because of the high body count. But I think for me, this next case sticks out the most because. Okay,
go on then. Who's final on the list? Well, it's
the final ones are Heaven's Gate.
Heaven's Gate. Yeah.
In fact, you don't need to Google images. You can go to their website. Their website is still up. This group was formed in 1974, but they were around until 1997. Since a bunch of them were nerds, they had a website, they had a web presence, and you can go to their website and it's still up there in all its like web 1.0 glory.
Oh, brilliant. Look at it.
It's amazing, isn't it? It just takes you right back to the late 90s, doesn't it?
Nested tables.
See, all their stuff, all their proselytizing, there's all there. And they're all the links will work.
No one's there to take it down or update it. So
no, it's run. Two members survive.
All right.
It's run by them. You can still email them. They will answer questions.
It says at the top, red alert. That's flashing. Red alert.
The time has passed.
So, red alert.
The time to ascend has passed. So yeah, that's why the red alert is. But yeah.
Careful.
I like their website. I like that it's still there. It's like the Space Jam website. It's like a little sort of piece of history.
There's some things that annoy me, right? Like, why use different fonts all over the show? Like, it never makes sense to me. Why underline when things can just be bold? I don't understand. Like,
because you could. Like, these were new. You get out from behind there.
The background as well, all the stars, making it more difficult to read. Like, one of the points of print production is you want to make it easier for people to read the things. That's why they've come to the website, is to read the things. Don't make it more complicated. Like, they didn't print copies of Shakespeare's. Big ups to back problems. They didn't print copies of Shakespeare with all snazzy background, right? White background words.
Come on, get past.
Vice versa. Yeah. So yeah, they've got a snazzy website, and they want you to join their cult. So, who was the first one, and where did this come from? What are they up to?
Right. Well, it's actually two. There's actually two. They were formed by Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles, who met in 1974. Well, actually, no, they met in 1972. They formed the group in 1974. Sorry, but in 1972, they sort of like they got on well with each other when they met because they were both sort of like a bit, fed up of life and looking for a bit something more, So they start talking and they start getting on well with each other and they start going on this sort of like shared spiritual journey. And they read a lot of stuff about like theology and eschatology. I'm never sure if that's pronounced eschatology or eschatology, but it's basically Christian theology and philosophy about the end times and revelation. And they also read a bunch of sci-fi stuff because they're nerds, especially Marshall Applewhite. He's a particular nerd. A bunch of the people that would come together actually later describe watching stuff like Star Trek together. So yeah, and the existence of a website, we're dealing with nerds. So you ever want to bring up that?
It's very modern as well, isn't it? Like Star Trek.
It is, yeah.
Like being a bit of a geek, like being an outsider comes into it, being a geek, like, forming your own groups. Like a lot of what we said earlier at the very start was about groups and how groups are different to cults in very small ways, but quite important ways. And so these particular sci-fi nerds have got themselves a more spiritual and religious leaning as well, yeah?
They do, yeah. And it's interesting in the particular way that it ends up coming about because after going through their little, I've just noticed that's a bit bloody cat. So after going through their spiritual journey, they come to the conclusion that there are levels above human, there are levels above this physical form, and by rejecting human nature, you can ascend to higher levels. And so they rechristen themselves T and Do. So Applewhite takes on the name T, which is T-I, and Bonnie Nettles takes on the name Do. As in like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. What? What do you want?
T and Do.
Yeah. See, that's Bonnie Nettles. She was a nurse. She worked in a psychiatric ward.
She looks... Well, I'm not like planning to follow either of these into... Like, some of them have charisma and... Like, I can understand the one that was preaching to a whole group of people about, social... talking to a black congregation, using the gospel, talking about social change and stuff. But these two, dare I say it, seem like they fall into the category of nutters. Hello, cat. Hello, Minky. Well, my cat's going to hear this and think, who's he talking to? Yeah, but they don't seem like, again, in chat, like you listed people that you thought were pretty cool, I think, when you were saying about who was going to be the leader of your cult, like who you would follow. Like maybe there's something about these people, but I don't really see it off these photos necessarily. But then that's a mugshot, that one. So, but yeah, like T and Do.
I don't necessarily know like how many of our audience are nerds, so I don't want to be insulting. But then again, I spent a couple of hours last week playing D&D with my brother, so I don't feel like I have the right to insult anybody other than Warhammer tabletop players.
Using the word nerd is not necessarily an insult these days. It's just
no, it's not. No, it's
group.
not. No, it's a good...
Yeah. Cat wrangling. But T and Do.
Water is fine. I changed
T and Do.
So yeah, they
and she's cut her hair there. Look, like she looks even less like charismatic to me. Like if these two people came along and said, right, I'm Do and this is T, we've got a new way of thinking, I'd say you can fucking T and Do out the fucking, off you go, off your T and Do, mate, off your T and Do.
But they're preaching very sci-fi sounding stuff in a time when society is changing culturally with regards to stuff like aliens and UFOs and that. This is about the time when, especially in the late 70s, this is when stuff like Roswell incident and information about that is starting to seep out. So aliens are starting, and UFO sightings and things like that are becoming sort of like culturally bigger. And then there's a movie called Close Encounter of the Third Kind. So there's also, a little series called Star Wars going on. And so society is changing in terms of like how it views like science and space. And so they're starting to preach this sort of like, hey, there are levels above humanity and this physical thing, and we can ascend like, spiritual beings. And this starts morphing into alien inspired stuff. You know, aliens are going to be the ones that help us ascend to higher levels. Aliens exist out there and they're waiting for us to ascend, and you know, they come and collect us and they put us on their ships and then we fly off through the cosmos. And this is, you know, appealing to a certain group of people. So right, let's go. Out you go.
It's making me think of this.
You'll be back in a minute, don't worry.
Californian, they are out there, you know, going out to the desert, you know, hands in the air again, waiting to be raptured. You know, it's making me think of an archetype there in a way, a more modern, like the spirituality coming from the cosmos is interesting as well, isn't it? Because they're preaching illumination, but they are maybe conduits of the illumination, but the illumination is the cosmos itself, which is quite a big concept to be attached to. So you can't argue
it's
with
more,
it.
Again, oh God, I've forgotten the term for it. Where are we? It's more instrumental, that's the one, because this is coming from yourself. They preach a lot of rejecting humanity and human nature. They preach a lot of rejecting the things that make you individual and individuality. That's why, you know, a lot of these famous photos later show that they're all in tracksuits and trainers and they're all dressed a certain way. Everybody dressed that way because it becomes harder to distinguish the individual. Things that make you an individual are earthly things. So if you look as androgynous as possible, different members would sort of like downplay their sort of like gender expressions. Like female members would wear like tops and like tight bras and strap down their breasts as much as possible. Male members would both male and female members would shave their heads. Some male members got castrated. I don't know how many, but I think it might be between 5 and 8. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure about that, but I believe it's yeah. They tried to sort of like basically reject all sort of like sense of identity and sense of individuality, and in that way, that's how you achieve enlightenment. So it's a works thing, it's an internal thing. You are being guided by this person, and he's telling you this is how you do it, but you still have to do it. You know, you're still the one that has to, you know, wear the tracksuits every day and rechristen yourself with a name like Far or Lay or T or have a number or something like that. So, but they're also a very interesting example of cognitive dissonance, because in when did she die? I think it's in 1987. Bonnie Nettles dies of cancer,
Right.
and their belief system is then modified, because initially they sort of like said you were biologically and chemically transported. When you ascend, when you have finally given up, you know, like everything, and when you finally rejected humanity, all of you goes. But then she dies and her body is still there. So she clearly didn't ascend. So they modify their belief structure to say, like, spiritually you ascend. The body is still left behind, but spiritually you do. So that's how they handle the cognitive dissonance of our initial beliefs do not match this like objective reality. So we have to decide one way or another. Otherwise, it's going to cause us like great pain and anxiety. But the brain doesn't like dealing with cognitive dissonance. The brain doesn't like holding two contrary ideas at the same time. So they have to adapt their belief system, and they do. They end up saying you know, ascend spiritually.
It's
You
raining
leave
again.
a body
I
behind.
couldn't be happier.
Andy's going to ascend
Andy
spiritually.
Centipede.
Andy,
Great stream, guys. If I join your cult, can I be the one who's tied up naked, please? Superchuffer owes 10 hugs.
Andy, that insufferable woman.
Going to be tied. I think everyone's going to have to be taking their turn at the nudity pole, aren't they? Like, isn't that going to be one of the communal rules in Guyana?
Yeah, everybody has a go.
Thank you very
Fun
much for the
everyone.
tippies.
Will
Thank you.
Stop crawling over these cables. I swear to God.
The cat loves it. I've had to, because I put up that curtain for the green screen. The first thing the cat did was go underneath it and put her
behind
hand
it.
through. Like, yeah. I'm like, no.
Look, I sorted your water out before, and we're nearly done. So let me get on with Heaven's Gate.
Yeah. We'll talk about Heaven's Gate briefly, and then we did talk. We mentioned about Charles Manson, but we're going to move on to. We'll probably talk about him in a different episode. So,
Yeah, because we're getting on a bit.
yeah. But
yeah.
so these
Sci-fi
chuffers,
nerds.
they're okay. So I can understand that you're sci-fi nerds and you're giving people a different explanation of the world and how we belong within it. The bit that I'm starting to worry about is where you remove people's identity by like homogenizing them and then literally operating on them. That seemed a bit extreme. Maybe some people might find this a sort of cathartic process though, like maybe people who've got problems in their life don't have problems now because I'm not anything, I'm just part of the cult. Maybe it's preying on vulnerable people as well, like in some way.
Well, what you could do is you could read their testimony. A lot of these people, in fact, I'm pretty sure all of them, before they went and did what they're about to do, they recorded testimony, and I think that's still available. They're at least on their website, written testimonies available, like explanations of their beliefs and things and how they feel about it. But the thing about this group compared to others is that this was all voluntary. All of these people were told, we have to do it. We're going to do it. And they all willingly said, okay, I'm going to do it. They all sort of said, there's no psychological pressure. I'm doing this voluntarily. I'm doing this because I believe this. It fulfills something in me. You can read their testimony and things. It is unusually open, because typically cults tend to be antagonistic. Unless they want you to join, you're likely to receive antagonism from them, because they're going to be wary of outsiders. They're going to be wary of people who might bring in alternative thought and try to keep group consensus, so typically cults are a bit more secretive, but these guys were very open. They would go out in groups. They'd go out on group trips to like arcades and local sceneries, like beaches and things, and they'd go out for restaurants. They'd go to restaurants for food and stuff, but they were all dressed the same. They all had the shaved heads, the tracksuits and the trainers. They all dressed the same in this weird idiosyncratic way, but they were all approachable, communable. They didn't antagonize anyone. They were just kept themselves and talked about ascending. They called it Telah, Telah, the evolutionary level above human, and that was the spiritual level they were trying to reach by shedding every sort of sense of individuality and humanity. But things changed when I think it was 1997, the comet Hale-Bopp was spotted, and it was, do you remember, it was about to make a pass around Earth, and it was the closest it would be. Also, briefly before we go on, I'm not quite so proud of this, but I've had my cat for 15 years now. She was called Gypsy when I got her, and I never changed her name, so I'm aware that it's a bit of a slur nowadays, but my cat's called Gypsy, so or you, oi. Depending on what sort of mood I'm in. No, I love that.
So the comet,
deaf, so she can't hear me, but
because I was just seeing on that extraordinary website they've got, the comet's part of it, and you get to Heaven's Gate through this comet going close to the Earth, and there's some sort of celestial enlightenment.
Yes, they believe the spaceship was following the tail of the comet, and that Bonnie Nettles was aboard, and that meant the time was coming for them to leave. That the time was coming for them to ascend to the level above human. It's like being told Revelation is coming, the apocalypse is coming. The what is it? The rapture. It's like being told as a Christian, rapture is coming. Prepare for ascending to heaven. This is the thing that you've been wanting your entire life. This is it now. So they get ready for it. And over a period of 3 days, between March 22nd and March 27th.
How many people are in the group?
It's a small group. It's 39 overall. So it's quite small compared to, say, Jonestown.
Yeah, it's not a community like Jonestown, but it's 39 people is a lot of people. Still. It is still more than one house. You turn up at Pizza Hut, and then you arrive after these people. They're just getting seated, and you think, we're gonna have to go because this 39 people, they're pushing all the tables together. Forget it.
You got two massive row, and you're we're never going to get a seat. Let's nip to the Pizza Express just down the road. We're in Woking. It's supposed to be quite nice.
Part of me would want to stay for a minute just to see if they all ordered the same pizza, because
I think they did. I think if I remember correctly, they did. They tried to avoid individuality in that regard, to that extent. I think they may have ordered the same thing, but it was a communal decision. They did all talk about it first, and then they'd be like, right, okay, we ordered margarita. Yeah, margarita. Okay, great. They all got margarita. So I'm pretty sure they did, but they typically try to do everything together the same way.
This is why why we've got the thumbnail, isn't it? They've got the same, all got the same Nikes. They discontinued the Nikes after this. You can't buy
that
those.
Specific
Yeah.
trainer. Yeah.
But they all wore the same Nikes.
After this period between March 22nd and March 26th, 1987, 39 members of the group committed suicide in three sort of, I don't want to say shifts, in three groups of, I think it was 15, 15, and 9. And what would happen was the first group would consume a mixture of vodka and phenobarbital. They'd mix it into like applesauce or pudding.
I couldn't be happier.
Has sent tippies. The boys are back in town. Great stuff again, guys. Take care, X. Superchuffer owes 10 hugs.
The most appropriate time for tippies there, and we are the hairy bikers of psychology on YouTube. So, thank you.
So they drink a mixture of like of alcohol and barbiturates, and they'd either have it in like applesauce or pudding or vodka. They just drink it, and then they go and lie down. They tie a bag over their head to induce asphyxiation, and then after a while, after it was after they were dead, after they'd suffocated, the next lot would come in and sort of like cover them with shrouds. They'd cover their faces with a purple shroud and cover the bodies up to a point. That's why it cuts off at like the legs there, because the bodies are sort of like covered to that point, not completely, but and some of them were looking forward to it so much that they'd even have like a tag on their on like their arm or on their chest saying like Heaven's Gate away team. So they were really looking forward to this. But they'd come in, the next lot would come in, they'd sort of like cover the bodies and respectfully, make sure everything was okay.
They had purple shrouds, didn't they? Quite famous purple shrouds.
Yeah.
No, that's why we've got the purple in there. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no, I never put that together. Well done. That's I like that. Well done. Yeah. Sorry, didn't mean to sound so patronising. Like, hey, well, I'm proud of you. But it's a good one, that one. I like it. So yeah, the next lot would come in. They'd take the mixture, they'd go and lie down, they'd put a bag over their head, and then they'd pass away. And then the last lot would come in, they'd do the same thing. They'd cover them, make sure they were sorted, and then they'd go and do it, including Marshall Applewhite. He did it as well. There wasn't any sort of like, right, well, you are all having this like painful death, I'm going to go and take it easy. He did the same as them. So...
on some level they might have believed it maybe and gone through with it. It seemed like they were doing it out of their free will as well, like no one was forcing them to go to Ghana in this one.
They did, and a lot of the video, like I said, most people had recorded like video testimony before saying, no, I'm doing this of my free will, I'm finding happiness in this and I'm not being forced to do it, and I genuinely I want to do this, so I'm looking forward to it. At the end, when the police would sort of like they found the place, they talked about how serene it was and how sort of like peaceful it seemed compared to other places where there is normally like overt acts of violence, because obviously there's going to be bodies with bullet holes in them. There's going to be impact to the body. There's going to be like, blood splatter and things like that. There's going to be like, when cults end violently, there is example of violence, whereas this was prepared, it was quiet, it was considered, it was
made me like seeing, obviously it's just some feet, but the bigger pictures, like it reminded me of like almost like a funeral home or something like that. It looked like it had been like properly laid out and everything had been carefully considered, so less brutal, but still a shocking end to joining
the only thing is sorry, just mention this as well. 2 people were found not covered, and it's assumed that they were the last 2.
Yeah.
They were the last ones to go. So they did everybody else in the last group, and then they went as well. But to have planned it to that level, they're all ready and willing to do it, rather than being forced at gunpoint to do it. So, yeah, it's an interesting one because it was so voluntary, and it was so... I think that's why it sticks with me, because it's I can understand, even though it's Jonestown is like a massive number, I can understand what gunpoint can do to someone. Is the poison or the gun? So I can understand not having a choice, but here it's voluntary, it's willing, and it's like, how do you convince 39 people to do that.
This takes us back around to the denial thing.
Voluntarily.
This is why we started talking about it in the first place. We were talking about denial in the episode last time, and it takes us back around to that. Is that like I was laughing about going to Guyana, but you take a small step into thinking someone's interesting and what they're saying is interesting, and this guy on the internet saying some interesting stuff, or like the Heaven's Gate have got a jazzy website, which to me, the thing that amazes me is that anyone would follow anyone based on this website. Like it says, like if you've got your microphone behind you or your website looks like this, then I wouldn't necessarily follow you into battle. Do you know what I mean? But
now, but like again, 1997. Come on,
yeah.
96, 97. That's current. I remember websites like that.
But,
I was online at like 96, 97-ish.
But yeah, so this chuffer entertains, he gets people involved, and then but the step over the line, into the extreme stuff. But that's what makes it a cult, I suppose. And it's amazing to me that people would take those extreme steps, I suppose, isn't it? Yeah.
It is, yeah. But it's sort of like one of the questions we've sort of avoided. What I thought we would be, how do you, what sort of person falls for a cult? What sort of person ends up in this situation where they're like, yeah, I'm okay with killing myself because I think it will make me ascend to a higher plane of existence? And the reality is there isn't. Anybody could,
Right.
This could be at the right time talking to a bunch of like Star Trek fans online, and they end up asking about, oh, so what do you believe then? I believe this. Oh, that's interesting. Can I learn? You end up just being at the right place at the right time to attract enough of a crowd who will follow you. Any people can become, but typically some of the sort of more common characteristics are people are going through like a transitional period in their lives. Maybe they've lost a job or started a new one. Maybe they've had a death in the family and they're struggling to cope with it. There's normally something going on, and then you're looking for something, you're looking for some sort of, you feel like something's missing and you need something to fill it. There's something in your life that's not right, or you feel like your life is empty without something. And it's like, hey, I've got the answer. I've got the answer in the shape of this book or this person, or why don't you come along to my church on Sunday and listen to this? So a lot of vulnerability is common amongst people that can end up in cults. It is usually that sort of group that is preyed upon, but anybody can fall into that at that right time in their life, because everybody is vulnerable at one point or another.
Big ups Covtown in chat, who says, are they typically American? No, because we saw one that was Japanese. So, yeah, but vulnerability is global, I suppose. Yeah, so it's interesting you should say that, because that means we're all potentially,
Yeah. There was a French one I wanted to cover as well, the Order of the Solar Temple, but they ended quite violently as well.
A lot of these psychology things are universal as well, aren't they? Whether it be homesickness or whatever, human responses, the way we behave and think and feel. So it's no surprise actually in a way that adherence to a cult doctrine or falling down the path of a cult could be something that happens to anyone. It reminds me of a friend of mine who said they had a relative who was into Scientology, and I'm like, but we live in the UK in a small English town. How come they're into that? That seems like a world away, but yeah, it's only just a few steps away that anyone could be following those things.
I was the same when I first met somebody who was Mormon, because I was like, this is such an American thing that I only know of because of American media that I've seen. So to see someone that was actually Mormon talking about it, and I had to chat with them. They were quite lovely. They were nice people, but they're over here on mission work, and they do that a lot. They go to other countries and proselytize, and so I had to chat with them, and it was like, yeah, okay, you believe that, that's fine, fair enough. I don't think you're going to have much luck over here because we're not that sort of country.
Maybe. Someone in chat says, are there any UK cults? I tell you, there's going back to the religious angle, I think there's a lot of sects, and there's a lot of sects that are in the grey areas in some ways for a lot of us. Yeah.
I think if you'd given him time,
the cat's now coming through my window behind the curtain, so I'm about to have the same interruption. We get to see how she's going to react to this new curtain being she's already navigated the blinds, so just that's happening in the background. Yeah.
Oh well, I think mine's settled down now. But I would imagine, given time, Ian Watkins could have sort of ended up building his own cult
horrible
that would
paedophile.
rather
He was
be-
just lead singer of a band, and then he was a horrible pedo, and then like he's in prison
Yeah,
and he got
Steps.
stabbed.
Yeah.
Steps, did you say? Not he wasn't in Steps.
No, it's H. H from Steps. His real name is Ian Watkins.
All right.
So, yeah. That was
Steps.
joke that you
You
would've
didn't.
wanted.
H for Steps didn't do anything bad.
It's not him. No, it's not him. It's a different Ian Watkins. Lost Prophets, Ian Watkins. Very
Yeah.
horrible person. Very horrible.
Different
chuffer,
episode.
don't-
Different episode.
Yeah, different episode. Yeah. But
And we've got to do an episode
Yeah,
on Marilyn Charles Manson as well, haven't we? We've got to talk
Yeah,
about him
yeah.
in the future. Denial was
Could
the
do
way
Miles.
that we got rounded into this, but
Marilyn.
we haven't hard pressed on the people that are in denial that are within the cult. So I don't really necessarily. I was going to be like, and so if you've got any advice for anyone who's in a cult and wants to get out of a cult, but I don't really like necessarily need to ask you that because I don't think anyone in the chat is in a cult and needs to get out of a cult.
no. But I did have some. Yeah.
Yeah, go on then, reel off a few of those, and then I'll talk about what it's like to be in a YouTube cult, and then like we'll knock it on the head.
All right, okay. Well, just remember that it can be difficult to sort of like help a friend or family member leave a cult. They might not actually be aware that, you know, what's going on is abusive. They might not understand that they're being brainwashed or taken advantage of in some way. You'd never really underestimate like the control a cult leader can have over an individual. And that can make, you know, actually helping them difficult. But patience is the key. You have to be able to sort of like take things slowly and remember that your friend or family member is being brainwashed. So what has happened to them is that they have been broken down in terms of their personality and their beliefs, their core spiritual beliefs, and rebuilt into a manner that worked for the cult. The cult wanted them that way. So what you're trying to do as you help them come out of the cult and readjust to normal life is help them slowly unpack all that and understand, like, oh, this is what's happened to me. Oh, this is where I was being lied to. This is where I was being manipulated. So, you know, you have to learn about the mind control techniques that have been applied, the social sort of like psychology and the dynamics behind it, because it can sometimes seem as if, you know, your friend or your family member is like maybe insulting or maybe angry or maybe aggressive. They may sort of like misunderstand you when you say, you know, this belief is wrong. You know, how could you believe that? It seems a bit ridiculous. You know, they're having to learn through all that. And no matter how extreme or abnormal their beliefs may seem as they're coming out of the cult, just remember that that's their beliefs at the time. And you are helping them work through that. So patience is like the wider key. It's a really difficult thing because you're essentially helping somebody unpack themselves and then rebuild it in a way that's better and more healthier and more appropriate and help them become themselves again rather than what they were made into through a process that involved completely breaking them down. So just as you don't want your beliefs mocked, you don't want theirs mocked as they're going through this process of trying to understand how it affected them and how they could, because again, it's a shameful thing. It can make you feel like shit thinking, how was I taken advantage of? How did this person manipulate me? We see it all the time with people leaving narcissists or people with borderline personality disorder. How did I get to that point? How did I let things escalate like that? How did I fall for that?
Let me put it round to that to finish then, like on a little bit of a slightly less heavy note. But like we watch DSP, and we've got, you know, Angry Alan's on the radar, isn't he? Although we don't talk about him on this channel. But like there are people that are in these. Like one of the reasons I wanted to talk about denial and stuff like that, and even cult groups, is I'm thinking about how other people on other internet groups. So DSP is a good example. There was recently someone who left their group, and you know, like they're only a young person really, so they're a bit naive maybe, but like also like at their age, like they're still, you know, capable and like, you know, got their own mind. Like maybe
You're 14, not 19.
You can come in, but you're not messing on that. You're not going on that. You're not going on that. So like
You're 14, mate, not 19.
Okay,
14.
sorry, 14. But like so that is quite young. But like the other people in Angry Alan's group are a bit older. But like these people are sort of like, I think there's a lot of group mechanics about it. Like I think part of the denial that we're in a or near cult, like say near cult, like not cult but near cult situation, like lacking the divinity maybe. Like I think that a lot of people in chat have been like, "Oh, you're going to watch that thing next?" I'm not planning to. It's not really one of my things that I care to watch. Like, and I don't think you should too. But you know, it's not going to be very good. It's just going to be like a load of rubbish. So it's not worth watching. But the the point I'm trying to make is that the people are there not because it's great. Like Darkside Phil doesn't make great gaming content, but the people that are in his group or in his chat, they're there for each other in the group as much as they're there for Darkside Phil in a way. Do you think? Or like,
Yeah. Yeah. Like, all the time, people who do manage to leave that say by the end of it, they were just there for the other people in chat. They didn't really care about what Phil was playing. They were just there for like the chat and the community aspect of it. And again, just like Phil and Angry Alan, these are the sort of vulnerable people that cults go for because you are socially isolated. And with Arkham, the person who was recently left, his crime was I did some video editing for Phil. Going forward, could we discuss like paying me for my work? And that was enough to get him kicked out, and it's a scam and all that stuff. Because that's Phil, and that's how narcissists respond like that. But the point is that had he not raised that concern, he could have been even more indoctrinated, so that it becomes harder to extricate him from it. And I'm sure we've talked about stuff like this before, but yeah, generally the longer the person is in, the more long-term exposure they have to the psychological techniques, stuff like peer pressure and love bombing, sleep deprivation. I mean, more cults in general, really, when you're trying to break someone down. You get verbal abuse, physical abuse, emotional and sexual abuse, all that stuff. You've got like changing things to keep this person on their toes. So you change what time they sleep, how long they sleep for. You change their diet. You install dress codes, and then you change what haircut they can have and where they can go and things they can talk about. All these sorts of things designed to break you down, so that you conform to the group in the best way that the group wants you to. And if it's someone manipulative who wants to exploit you, they will break you down in a way that makes you more compliant for them. So when they do go, I want you tonight, get to my bed, you'll up and go. So
it's interesting.
It's difficult. But...
It's interesting though to say that the people on the internet, they're not really forming cult groups because it requires a lot more direct and sophisticated manipulation. Like talking to people on the internet, asking them to give you money, giving them making them feel like they're in a group, like giving them a little job. Like it doesn't quite veer into cult status and seriousness, but it can mimic some of those dynamics, maybe.
Yeah, because we're groups. We're still ultimately talking about groups of people, and you're unified around one thing. It might be a person that you think is a messiah, or it might be a streamer that you enjoy watching, or in this case, two streamers that you really enjoy watching. The Ko-fi link is down below. Oh no, that's my channel. It's over there. So yeah, you still ultimately groups. So similar group dynamics will happen, but the context will always change, like the importance or the significance of it. So when we say things to chat and chat respond and say, we could ask them a question and they could give us answers, and that'd be great. That's a group dynamic that is also present in other contexts where it's worse, because if we were commanding an audience of subjugated people, we could say, right, we want you to, the jar's going around, the tip jar, so and we could make you do that through more psychological pressure and more social pressure. But we're just a group of people. We're not a cult. We're not that sort of social context. We're just streamers that people are watching and enjoy.
But the people that we don't like as well, like the Phil and the Angry Chuffer, they could take some of these manipulative tactics, but they can't make themselves into a serious cult because they lack the divinity and the ability to literally control people's lives, outside of the internet necessarily. Although I think between the two of them, there's a few emails that have gone around and, they are involved in people's lives behind the scenes, but their ability to directly control them and to form this real community doesn't really exist, I guess.
Well, actually, we've seen some Discord leaks recently with Darkside Phil that have shown that he's very active when it comes to putting on a lot of certain pressure and certain ideals and stories and things. So it's if he has a tale to tell, he tells it them first to work out the kinks, and then they're like, right, okay, we believe that now, so that's our thing. And then they go out into the community as a whole when Phil's on stream, and they're like, don't forget, Phil is saying this, so y'all better believe it. Don't answer back, right? If you answer back, that's it, banned.
There's definitely an online pressure to conform to be in the group. So there's definitely a mirroring of some aspects of they do have they've got the great leader. They've got
It's raining again. I couldn't be happier.
Louise Brown sent
it's quite loud. Is that loud?
Superchuffer owes 3 hugs.
Has it been loud all night? It
fine
just
with
was
me.
loud then. Okay. They've got the great leader. They've got the illuminatory aspect, and they've got like the conformity, but they lack the real life, get in your life, like, you know, make you actually have to do things, control, and they lack the deism and the divinity aspect. So online people that we hate are not really cult people, but they're people that like them are following in some of the mechanisms as cult people are. So we could learn a bit from that in some ways, maybe.
Yeah, because social dynamics are social dynamics regardless of the social group. You get them in every subculture. Every subculture has its own rules and sort of like agreed behaviors and beliefs and things, you know. So it's a recurring social mechanism, but obviously in cults it's used to more destructive ends. Like, you know.
So with this pulling of the thread of psychology,
Trying to think of it.
Next episode we should start looking at the dynamic. Again, we come back to group psychology a lot of the time, don't we?
Well, we're about how people think, aren't we? Not just persons, people.
Yeah.
So.
Very interesting, yeah. All good in the hood, right? I can see you're getting more and more uncomfortable with your back, yeah. And we've come to the end of our episode, so you've got T-minus 2 minutes in chat to say thank you to each other. I'm going to say thank you to Steve, who's my co-host, not just my guest. And this is Thus, and it's been really cool tonight. I'm sorry we took a little bit of break in the middle, but like, you know, we're just people who come on streams. Like, you know, I'm not adhering to a strict rule set here. There's no so like, look forward to seeing us regularly. We might change Monday. We might, you know, Monday might be on, it might be off, like depending on how things are going. But
we'll see how we feel like physically.
Yeah. But Thus will continue irregularly but regularly until things get more regular again. So don't worry about that. Yeah. And long live the Super.
I'm not
channel.
regular. I mean, do you know what one of the problems of like opiates are? One of the side effects. Constipation, mate.
Scat talk. That's just won the bingo. So.
Did the middle square? It's the free square.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm going to try and get on this channel more, and like we've got other things to uncover and like leads to follow. So yeah, you be good.
We should do members only streams to like encourage people to become members.
Yeah, we haven't even switched it on.
The Superchuffer cult.
Yeah,
you know,
the cult.
Thus cult.
We're going to start the cult memberships. So
we need a better name.
Your job will be to warm up the Kool-Aid. Do they drink it warm?
No, I think it's cold.
Kool-Aid, yeah, it's cold.
Because it's like I would assume because it's like cordial, you drink it cold.
We used to have hot Ribena at school, but maybe
it's only when you're ill.
It's
like hot Bibto, innit?
They used to do it on winter. Like you'd be like, oh, Ribena, and you pick it up, it'd be warm, and you'd be like, okay, well, that's bad. But maybe I just thought they were trying to do it to punish us, but hot Ribena, yeah.
Thank you for everyone. I hope my pain will lessen as well.
Yeah. If not, then it's Kool-Aid all around. So, where's the membership tab? We don't have one yet. We're going to get one. We'll switch it on.
One day. We've been planning.
Yeah. Well, for this channel, it'll be just for me, and I get all the money. So, like, we need to do a separate. Like for Thus, when we like build up, we want to move it onto its own channel, and then you can be a member of Thus itself there, and then we can share the monies. But yeah, I'm damned if I'm going through complicated mathematical processes. But I will be sharing
to
the
hit
tippies.
checks again. Yeah, Ribena milk. Oh,
yeah, we're not putting milk in Ribena.
No. And I said that as somebody who drank that. Like, there was like a soft drink that was made with milk. I think it was around like 97, 98. It was advertised, didn't last long, and it was really nice. I can't remember what it was called. I'm gonna have a look for it.
I know a few of you might be thinking like, and he might have even left by now, but like a few of them might be thinking going to watch that other chuffer. Don't. I will come on stream if I have to. All right, if I have to, I will. But like, you know, don't start populating his streams and giving him the numbers. Let's leave that. Let's not touch the poop. All right. Yeah, Steve, you got any final words about cults, or should we just like, you know, should I do the sign off?
I think you can do the sign off. We covered basically everything in cults, and
we're going to come back and do some more, aren't we? We're going to do
there's plenty of other ones that we can do. So we're not like wanting for examples.
But if you've got a favorite cult, put it in the comments below, and we'll look at it and learn about the cult. All right.
This thing's opened, and I'm really annoyed now. I can't find that name of that drink that had milk in it. It's doing me in, so yeah. I'm just giving up.
What, fridge?
No, that's a milkshake, man. Come on, no,
Yeah.
it was like a soft drink. Yeah,
A soft drink.
it was a
Like-
soft drink. It was a fizzy drink. It was in a can, and it had milk in it. And I remember like the adverts were like various celebrities going, "Hang on, it's got milk in," and then it would be like, "Yes, it's got milk," you know, and the name of the drink, and I can't remember what it was called, but
Yeah, I've never heard
Yeah.
of that. That's.
it was
Oh,
nice. It was really nice. So yeah,
I
you know,
don't really want to live
I'll
in that
drink
world,
that.
but-
I'll drink that, but I'm not touching Ribena and milk.
I'm gonna have to know.
No, thanks.
Soft drink with milk in.
UK, yeah.
It's just got
You
pictures
just
of
gotta-
putting milk in Coca-Cola, which is like fucking rubbish.
That was that James Felton bloke, wasn't it? He did that thing on Twitter where he was like, "Hey, does anybody else drink milk and Coke?" And then, like 90% of Twitter were like, "Oh, what the fuck?" And 10%
Milkies.
were like, "Actually, this is okay."
Milk
So-
is. No, it's obviously not popular. Dragon's Den, no, that's a no from me. I'm not investing in milk in soda. No thanks. Yeah, okay. So you be good, and remember, if you can't be good, then we're gonna make you drink Kool-Aid and lay you out, and you're gonna get a nice pair of Nikes, but you won't get much wear out of them. So yeah, be good. If you can't be